these days, which is necessary. So if you're here and you don't have the series points to go forward, you have to hit top 50.
And Vibes is, I believe, one of those players that's looking to do that. As an ambush was set up. That was the story of yesterday. Everybody looked to these nice little ambushes onto players, and that shot does come through, and he does end up getting the elimination there.
Series points to go forward. You have to hit top 50. Slow in that fight, trying to get through the wall, but letting him build that space. I believe
one of those players that's looking to do that.
You catch somebody that quickly, one tag to start the fight off, they end up getting off foot. Not quite realizing, but here it is, Clay. We've been talking about the possibility of Mr. Savage conditioning the area. Craggy Cliffs was his kind of home after the yacht. Home away from home, now crouching in, potentially trying to trap Vibes like we just saw Vibes spring on the other side. But he's already got the crash pads, Clay, already trying to set up the reverse stare from the cone, and he will do that. Boom, into the box, and yes, he's directly under, and yes, Vibes is gone. Savage showing off again that trick that we've seen so often this week, more than any. Last week we saw Savage doing it a little bit, but this week more than anyone, so many players have been utilizing the ramp on top of your cone, throw it at the ramp, it goes directly on there and breaks everything.
And Savage is one of the people that kind of put players onto that. It was his performance in that day number 2 that just dominated everybody and said, oh, wait a minute, you can use crash pads this well, and it pretty much will guarantee you an elimination if you throw it right. You do have to be careful about going into that box because you don't own anything. But if you're Savage, you know you don't own anything going into that box, and you're 100% committing to that fight. However, Kezix does not look like he wants to commit to this fight as crash pads are being used against him. Continued pressure from his opponent onto the wall, onto the stair. Now that's going to get taken. A nice edit out to keep Kezix alive, but he's running out of options here. Shots are coming through. He did get a nice tag there, but Kezix is trying to make something happen, and he really needs to end this quick because the third party in the zone are going to start to move in here in about a minute, and unfortunately, D-Trix is going to find him there. He just ran out of time.
It was nice, but the pressure that D-Trix was able to put on to start that fight, a couple of beams will already put Kezix on the back foot, and then the way that he's chasing him down will make that all the more difficult as well. And we see the third party also getting pressured from D-Trix instantly after that first Elin went down. D-Trix is looking for more, but he will disengage past and towards the authority now, as we saw that zone heading way north towards Craggy Cliffs, and where the other players that we saw in this game were. Thomas HD, another one of the players who's qualified every single day into this final stage. Center zone for him just past Risky Reels.
And I'm very intrigued by Thomas HD's loadout. He's got Kit's Shockwave Launcher and Charged Shotgun there. No sniper rifle from what we've seen from Thomas HD in the past. This is a little bit different than what we're used to.
Yeah. Clay, you're alluding to the fact that this man is one of the most unstoppable snipers in the region, possibly even in the world. Feels like he hits every shot, no matter the range. But no, we've got no Cavado today. So that fight that they had multiple times yesterday will be Thomas HD's to earn, and he will have Caddy Launcher, Kit's Shockwave, and Kit's Charge Shotgun up for grabs. And we didn't necessarily see him have a massive game when he had it in that very, very first game, game number 1. But we know he can perform without it. I put this player on the same kind of level as Rezon before this season, but since then he hasn't really impressed me all the way. Of course, making it all 4 days is impressive in itself, but not at the top 3 finishes, not getting a win in any of these.
Yeah, I believe sitting, I think his highest placement may have been 12th place in the qualifiers day 3, but he's got that potential to pop off. If he's uncontested right away at Caddy Corner, he's obviously got the ability to do it with that mythic loadout. We saw Janus there for a little bit, I believe one of his first times getting here to day 3, hopefully able to make something happen for him. Again, he's playing for series points and he's playing for that top 50. Now talked about what you need to do to get to those top 50 with the way the format is. You're looking for consistent top 30, top 20 placements. with a couple eliminations, and that should put you into that top 50.
Well, Janice might be going for that. We expect him to do well once we get to the seasonal finals next week. We really do, given the fact that he won with flying colors in the FNCS Invitational. Slightly different format, slightly different structure, and certainly a new season for him to try to tackle. This first game, we've got no Storm Surge Clay, definitely the most aggressive players falling curve that we've ever seen. Typically, we're used to maybe 80 at this phase, maybe 76, but all the way down to 71. EU typically slightly ahead of the curve compared to the other regions, but this is something different. We are also seeing a change in the structure, in the way that people are placing themselves all on the zone. Look at that spread, and keeping a lot of distance, and I think that's a symptom of the way that EU likes to play so aggressively and get in your face. Box fights like these for 7 Tor takes out Smudge. Just an isolation factor in a sense, Clay.
And I think that is due to the crash pads being in this season. This is the first time we've seen that box closing capability be very, very, very quick and very, very detrimental, especially if you're boxed up, because usually it used to be mobility. You could get to players quickly, but you couldn't get into their boxes if they were boxed up. Now with the crash pads, you can get to players' boxes quickly, and you can get into their boxes quickly. So that is definitely a symptom of that, as we can do a fight who is happening box to box. Nappy going aggressive there onto this player that was being aggressive onto him. He's got crash pads if he wants to use it to get in the box once he heals back on up, but Snappy, you know, I don't like that he's in this fight alleyway outside of zone. The player is pushing on him, so they may have been on the cusp of Storm Surge. There was that one player, but just going right in, and Stormy Right takes them down relatively quickly.
Yeah, it was a edit and wall take from Stormy Right to initiate that fight, closing the gap that we were talking about, and Snappy was not prepared. They traded shots, and it looked like Snappy came out ahead, but right at the end, before those walls closed, Stormy Rock got one more big shot off, and Snappy, who had the idea to crash pad in the box and end that fight once and for all, unfortunately, because of that big tag, had to fall back on it. Mr. Savage, right on the edge of zone, gets 3 players right next to him, where I don't think he expected anything on either side. Regardless, sometimes you can't really control what comes your way, but Savage is one of those players who can. He's already used all of his crash pads. When we tuned in with him at Craggy Cliffs, he had, what, 5 before he even got into that box, so potentially had to save them or use them for rotations already to this point.
And using those peppers as well, so Mr. Savage-esque. But we also want to point out Mr. Savage is the only player to have 20-plus elims without a single top 20 finish in Qualifier 2 finals. That is insane. He was able to just dominate that much without getting a top 20 finish. That shows the strength of both his gameplay and his knowledge of the format. He's able to do that in Qualifier number 1 and 3. But in Qualifier number 2, he's able to pop off. But right now, he's going back to the lobby.
Yeah, he was too confident that that player Peach was not going to make the edit, the double edit through his stairs and his wall to go after Savage, and all of a sudden that switches and Savage loses the confidence. But there's really nothing you can do in that case because the walls are edited, the cone is very difficult to edit, and with the speed that Peach came out of that unexpectedly, even the best players cannot react in time for that one. But going back to what we were talking about with Mr. Savage and the 20 elims that he got on day 2, without even placing top 20 once in a single one of those games. That goes back to that stat that we saw yesterday when we were watching NA East about if you get early elims, if you get elims throughout the mid-game because you're pushing fights and playing aggressively, that lowers your chance of actually having high finishes. So Savage fell in that trap day 2, or maybe didn't fall in the trap. Maybe he expected it. And I think maybe still feeling that way, though, a slightly different tone from him after that first elim. Maybe it's just that he didn't find anybody up in the area and he was boxed up in that case.
Still 5 more games to go after this one for Savage, so can really work with what he wants to do. If he wants to just solidify that landing spot in the area around, or if he wants to go for that top 1 finish like we know he's capable of getting. Someone we have not seen much of in these qualifiers, day 3, that is Yinks right here, with already the placement point coming through. They've set themselves up in a really good spot as well. On this side of zone, they've got AR Buffo right by him, and that's Nate that we now know by him as well. But if zone pools, they're going to have a lot of people rotating into them, and they're going to have very, very good shots and tags onto him. Because as you see, Storm Surge is going to be a factor. 15 players will need to go down before the Storm Surge turns off. And with that many players up above, you talked about it early, it wasn't that early in the game we had Storm Surge, but now Europe is refusing to go down.
Yeah, it flips, right? Again, you see the congestion that's coming out of this. Very difficult to actually take fights. And when you do take fights, what Yinks just did happens to you. The third party, for multiple people, fourth party, fifth party involved in this one with the lobby focus from both of those players on the side will take you out so fast if you're not careful. From a couple of different AR shots, a couple of different angles, now the rotate starts. Onto the 5th zone, it's going straight center over west, and only a few players there, but a lot's going to be able to make the line rotate, follow each other from the north. And here it is, Teak already in zone, one of the other players who's done so well and won the prior DreamHack in EU. We expect him to continue his performance because he has been consistent day after day. Now even moving into day 4, always expect the exact same. Froggy is getting tagged by Surge, and thankfully he finds an elim. Chris leaves himself open. Not only does Froggy get the elim, but that was a saving elimination for him there. He could have gone down given the minis that he had. Didn't really have enough to outlast the 4-player Surge that still needed to come.
And if you're just joining us and you're new to competitive Fortnite and you don't know how Storm Surge works, there's a leaderboard of players' damage that is kept throughout the match, and there's certain thresholds that need to be hit by a zone. If it's above 50 in this half in, half out zone, it'll activate and it'll start doing damage to those players. You saw that lightning kind of come down and start to take HP away from Froggy. He was able to do enough damage, and it dropped below the threshold that he was able to stop getting damaged and able to move about on his rotate. You saw Tux pick up an elimination as well. He was also in contention from getting dropped down below that leaderboard and being below Storm Surge threshold, which was really good. And that's why you see a lot of these players make plays that normally they wouldn't go for. They're sitting up in a really good spot. They've got a good box, but they have to go aggressive because they're below Storm Surge.
Sometimes that's a opportunity for other players to get an easy elim on somebody who's desperate to stay above that. Regardless, that's done for now. We got another one in the 7th zone. It'll be 30 players need to go down. And of course, trying to see who's going to put themselves in a good position. X-Squeeze looks like he's about to be taking height. He's in a fight up there right in front, and it's Peach who takes down the player who took down Mr. Savage earlier. That might be a fight that's consequential for him holding high ground, especially given the fact that the 6th zone, the first full moving zone going up and north over towards the river, Tux will dive in a box as well, and that was not the right move, but he had 0 materials to actually make anything work, so he had to try something.
And he tried whatever he could. It just, you know, at that moment with that little build, there's not much you can do. Squeeze, on the other hand, is dominating these late game fights with zone barely starting to move. He's looking for frags already. You see, he does control high ground right now. Nobody really noticing that. He's got the launch pad to use just to get in. Doesn't want to waste those materials. As you see, not very healthy. We do see Benji Fishy gonna fall in that elim feed as well. As we take a look, that actually is Robabs there, the train hard player on your screen, getting word. As now a player that definitely needs to perform here today is Slender. No eliminations, but he does have those placement points.
Crash batting ahead, back up onto a mid-ground layer, but this mid-ground layer is not the spot he needs to be because if he gets pressured once, oh, never mind, he goes into a box. I don't know how he found that gap, but Janice is not paying attention, and Slender will get back into this. 25 builds now to play, and he can actually play the layer that he wanted to.
That is amazing there for him. He's going to recycle that crash pad as well. Don't really have to use a lot of matches. The layer changes come through. What I'm worried about for him is he is on that second height. He's got to be careful about that. He still has that RPG, though, which is going to cause a lot of chaos down below. We haven't really seen much of it this season in solos because you can only get it from the Marauders. So he's able to take advantage of that. And elimination comes through onto Milan as well. 1 rocket left. He needs to find a rocket impact elimination below him where he can pick up these mats and get these builds. because right now he needs that, and he picks up another one as well.
He's finding these players who are so low HP, and he still has 3 floppers if he does want to go pick up that loot from both Milan and the player he just took out in zone. But switching gears, looking at everybody else in this, we do have the player from yesterday, and Swee's still alive. 3 eliminations for him still. He's gotten another one, and he picked up the glider gun from the Authority off of the last player he got the impact off of. Now time for floppers, and he'll get ahead right back into the zone and potentially find even more, but a full low ground position, not exactly the most optimal spot for him.
And you see him immediately recognize that and get out of it. He said, I have to get up. I have to get out of this awkward area where I don't really have a full box, and I need to get ahead of zone. That's exactly what he's doing. 7-Tour is going to fall to Andilix. And Sweeze is only on 1 build. He has to get another impact frag. And there it is. There's another one. This is going to be another one. It is on to save it. Light and save it. Back to back, going down another one to the box. Can Sweeze get out? I think he can. The edits are going to come through, and he does get out.
How fast can you be? Unfortunately, it's not fast enough because he goes to a different layer and there's Steelix waiting for him. He almost got out of that, but there's Andalex activated. He's gotten 3, and he's down on a low ground layer with Nate. 2 of the FNCS champions from duos, both of them teammates prior to this, now going in solos on the low ground layer, and they're fighting off against each other, but they've also put so many low HP players still moving forward, players trying to make sure that they can get up the elevation. Refsguard on height, I believe, just took out Thomas HD. Now they're down, and he's continuing. He's got 5 elims of his own.
And he picked up Kid's shockwave launcher. That is so crucial to recognize. He is going to be able to fire those down and just throw people into zone. From the backhand, Cammy looking really good. He's got the floppers, so he can withstand the shockwaves in the zone. He's playing hard for placement right now, hard for that zone. You see him just breaking through builds, not trying to expose anything, not looking for any peaks. The sights are going through. Rescard going to get challenged by Story Right, and he's going to fall. Rescard with 6 eliminations now, looking very, very good. Cammy still alive with 4. Another player down below. This is coming down to that last zone, the last 20 seconds of the game. Cammy has been exposed from the high ground position, but he's got enough floppers that it doesn't really matter. Rescard is not looking down and breaking down just yet. He's not optimally using that shockwave launcher. He's kind of just going over these old builds and now going to use it a little bit later there. You heard one player go into zone. This is really good for Rescard, but Cammy's got the floppers. Cammy has 2 floppers compared to this. As floppers are going to be used, he's got the HP advantage. This is going to go over to Cammy because he's got 1 more flopper remaining.
Yeah, that's it. Revscar will go down, but a well-fought battle for so many. Cammy with a good idea in these final moments when it's a 1v1v1 situation and going over so many old builds and already having the flopper. Knows that that HP situation will be in his favor, so he'll rely on that and take that one gamble. That's game 1 down. We got game 2 coming up, but before that, we got the analysts to break it down.
All right, guys, welcome back. Great game there to start things off over in Europe. Gentlemen, you know, it's kind of weird. That game didn't quite feel standard. It felt a little slow. I'm not sure if that's these nerves we like to talk about sometimes, but it just felt a little off to start the day.
I would say that's largely because it felt like there wasn't that one person who really stood out over the top. Largely, it was more a combination of like 3 or 4 different people picking up 4 or 5 eliminations you saw right at the end. Kami was able to take it away with 4 elims with a good little flopper play, but 5 elims on the other side from his opponent right at the end, and it came down to Refsguard not necessarily having the utility and paying for it from his aggression early on, but we'll see now in the standings where that's shaken out, because I anticipate towards the top end we'll have a couple who are separated, and we do. You can see Kami there with 4 elims in the victory route, 18 points. Refsguard second place, 6 elims, 17 points. Onyx, Kichao, 5 eliminations as well, 15 points. Stormy Right, 4 elims, 13 points. Steelix, 4 elims, 13 points. MCES, X Squeeze RR for second place yesterday, 5 elims, 12 points. And that's kind of what we're talking about. Like, those eliminations were really spread out all over the place, so there wasn't one person who really emerged all the way at the top as we flip on over to the second page here.
Yeah, second page, a lot of points, but I don't think this is going to be actually accurate of what happened in the game. From looking at right now, I don't even think that these players are the ones from the game that we just saw. There it is. There's the big update. Nice. P90, 7 Tour, who we were looking at being one of those top contenders coming in. Wakey, JK Ramnik as well. Janice, Orax, Nistex, Kura, and Robbie. Now, what I'm looking at is the overall points for these guys. We're coming in really hot over at the 21st to 30th place slot, already at 7 to 5 points. Now, in comparison for other regions, it takes the game 2 or 3 to get that all the way at top 50 or all the way up in like game 3 in those standings. So it's really cool to see Europe taking things by storm. At the same time, so many other players too battling out in top 50. Teak all the way at 40th, Hydro in 31st.
And a lot of old names coming up here as well. You see Shinkin, Milan, Tuck, some names we necessarily haven't seen in a while. You got Scram up there. Refsguard, however, has been really consistent over the course here. I believe this is his 3rd final qualification, and he's somebody who plays a lot for placement. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in a decent amount of these end games.
I mean, what would I hope? Because right now, guys, I'm looking for someone to breathe life into this competition because I want these games, and I know it's the final opportunity. A lot of these people are trying to hold on and make sure they calculate every single move. But right now, we need those pop-off plays if we're looking to push into that bubble.
But unfortunately, we're not going to see those pop-off plays. We talked about at the start of the show the 6 players who had made every single one of these qualifiers. And while they were able to pick up some early eliminations, none of them were really able to get themselves established early on. As we've seen kind of over the course of the tournament, these guys have been very good about making sure they get settled, get their momentum. But if you notice, time and time again, Kazakhs went down 75th there. This is Thomas trying to get a little bit of closure right away over here in Caddy. Picks up the early elimination, but not going to be able to really convert it into a ton. Unfortunately, again, you can see some good shots coming out from the Epic Burst. And while early eliminations are valuable, as we've seen time and time again over the course of the broadcast, you have to be making it into top 10s, if not top 3s, to really fall into serious consideration.
Yeah, right now Thomas is doing the best out of all these guys who are performing in Europe just for today. He is all the way over at 9th place with 11 points. This is an update, though, as Sundown mentioned, for all these guys. I feel like it's still par for the course. You're going to have to be playing your game. Sometimes your game gets ended early. As long as you stick to your game plan and stay consistent, that's where things start to work out for the whole day. We've seen before that people who start the competition off early and fast have a very tough time holding it down, staying in first, staying in second. So I'm actually kind of worried for Cammy, Refsguard, Quickhu. I'm looking at 7 Tour Thomas and feeling like, okay, these guys are actually at a comfortable spot. Top 18 over there for 7 Tour. Teak also in the top 30, the top 20. Yes, these guys went down, but they got a taste of the end game, and now they know what to adjust.
But if you also notice, too, so many of these players fell just right outside placement point thresholds, just missing out on that one extra point that could have made a difference making. You see Benji going down just inside the top 40 there. Thomas did manage to snag a top 10 along with his 3 eliminations, so you talked about him having kind of the best opportunity, the best start off. I would argue him and Refsguard should be the 2 you should really keep an eye on in terms of the ones who have the consistent ability out of the ones we saw in the top 10 to keep making these end games. However, over the course of these tournaments in the round 3s, we've seen anybody can really surprise if they're able to get themselves rolling.
Yeah.
My question
I think
for
with
you,
Thomas.
Zeke.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a hot one here. For these guys,
Oh.
is it important to start off game 1 if you're already qualified? Are end games important for these guys to hit, or is it more about their drop?
That's a good question. I think it depends really on all these guys and what they're looking to accomplish. If they want series points, if they've already qualified, they're probably looking to play for money, right? And at least get a kind of contained, because you got to think with Heats next Friday, how else are you supposed to practice for that? This is the perfect testing ground, right? Is to go head to head and say okay, well, what does this look like? What does this drop spot look like? If I have to deviate, what can we expect, right? There's all these different things that they can kind of be running here as testing before next Friday. So I think hopefully that's what we're looking to accomplish. Anyway, this is my opinion, but let's get ready, guys. It's time to jump back into game. Let's get back over to Clay and Bala to get us into the next one.
While our analysts might be hoping for definitely a bigger game in this one, at least a little noisier of a game, I think this final day could be for sure a little quiet, but that does not mean not exciting. That does not mean that we're not going to see some clutch performances to qualify, but also some new names rise to the tops, of course. We've seen that in many of the different regions as we go through these days of qualifiers, because like Shia was alluding to, a lot of these guys are focused on not necessarily that top spot. Like Zeke said, maybe it's a lot for practice because the grand prize in the seasonal finals is all that more exciting. Our former EU champions, Andalex and Nate, are playing today, and they know what it feels like to be crowned that FNCS champion of an entire region. Reason, who might have gotten a taste fighting off in Holly Hedges right now, wants to make sure that when the time comes, he's ready to grab that extra champions.
And he's looking to secure his top spot and do it. His races is going to go down. One of the few people we've seen dominate Holly Hedges over the course of the qualifiers, and this is looking good. We talked about it and briefly mentioned it last game, but if you are playing in these and you have already qualified, your goal is to solidify your job spot versus many different players. Rezon has had to fight many different players on spawn in Holly, and he has came out on top almost every single time. Same for Mr. Savage at the yacht. Over in Caddy Corner, however, Thomas HD is uncontested. And while that is good for today, that does not necessarily bode well for the heats, because he may not get it uncontested there. Another spot that is definitely going to be contested as well, Craggy Cliffs, as we see Chapix in a fight against Vibes, and we know Savage is lurking nearby.
Now we do. These fights need to clean up quickly, and they do. Chapix with a nice snipe. Not what Vibes was expecting Chapix to do on the backside of that, based on the way that Chapix was defensively building, but you put one thing in the mind of your opponent and then flip the switch, flip the script. He's down, back to the lobby. Vibes, second time in the row that he'll fall before even leaving his off-spawn drop.
The vibe check was just not passed there. Let's see if Ensar can change it around and get this elimination. Sweaty Sands, not a POI we've seen a lot this season. Has kind of fallen out of the big name rotations for the POIs. So we saw it a lot last season in just where it was and how everybody used the POI. But this season, not that good. And this fight is taking a long time. I'm really worried about how long it's going to continue taking. As Instar was not getting into the box, but he decides to get in and only uses an AR.
Yeah, didn't quite get the shotgun shot off, but that AR swap is still strong for him, and he'll finish the fight. You're right, though. Sweaty Sands has not been getting the attention that it had last season. Two of our FNCS champions came out of Sweaty, both in NA East and EU. NA East was 8 and Saf, and EU and Alex and Nate, who are playing today. But I think two reasons for that. Obviously, it was flooded earlier on the season. You could not play it for a lot of this season so far, but also just in solos. It's one of those spots where it allows so many people to sustain there, but that just makes it all the more risky. So you see Nate in the feed, who just took out Leneuf, not landing there, landing somewhere else this season, I think, for that reason alone.
And a lot of these players' drop spots changing up over the course of the season with the water receding and just changing and adding new POIs. We're on board here with Miknup, who's looking to get this fight in his favor, but already starting on the defensive foot. Now has switched it back over. The crash pad in, and he jumps in. That was really clean. He got the stair. No, the other player got it. He's down to no HP as Dave played that so perfectly.
Oh my goodness, so unfortunate for McNubb. That was such a dynamic use of the crash pad on the right side. Usually it's head on, but instead a cone to the side, and he's throwing it while in the air. And here's what we were talking about. Chapix, who was in Craggy. You said Savage could still be lurking, ready to go in. And here he is, onto Chapix. One of the also best players in EU, but against Mr. Savage, who I think for now has the claim as best player in EU. And he has crash pads in the inventory, still holding off on them right now, trying to pinpoint exactly where Chapix is. There he goes in the box, 112, almost gets it, yes! 3 shots will count for Mr. Savage on the Chapix, and there's another early elim into Craggy Cliffs. Now I have to wonder how much of an impact that will have. Is Savage actually going to be able to get Yacht uncontested in seasonal finals and then also have a claim a little bit into Craggy Cliffs? That is such a dangerous thought for the rest of EU and the rest of the region for grand finals.
You definitely do not want that to happen. And Savage has proven if he's got it uncontested, he's going to run away with the lead. And he knows in grand finals he can turn it around and not play as aggressive as we saw in qualifier number 2. But that was just so clean. Another dynamic usage. He pickaxed that cone, and immediately, once it got down to 1 hit, he decided instead of going for that hit, he's going to crash bet on it and get into the box. I wanted to say that Chapix is one of those few players that would know how to fight Craggy Eclipses. That was his squad's drop spot. He knew it like the back of his hand, but going down to Savage is just solidifying that Savage is on top right now.
Played it right, but unfortunately, just the final moments didn't go his way. Hi, Chris, the same situation on the backside. He takes out 1, but in the zone. Now, in my mind, the player that's impressed me this weekend so far in day 3, yesterday, he was so good at playing the format and also finding elims in the end game. And there it is again on Teak from range. A little bit of pressure from one side, and all of a sudden Teak does not cover another, and Squeeze is there to pick it up, and big build already to make sure he secures the loot and makes it that nobody else wants it. He's back in there. What I was saying, so impressive day after day this weekend. Not only the semifinals, just moments ago, a couple hours ago, he was top 5 in the semifinals, which isn't somewhere you normally see him. He's not the player you expect to see at the top of the matchmaking stages. And until yesterday for me, wasn't even what I expected at the top of the final stages, but he's doing it. And again, he's doing it again today, 14 points. Now looking at Reason in a fighting Storm, and we definitely don't see him here. No health either. He'll jump in the box. Oh my goodness.
Getting so aggressive, and it's on to Kha'Zix. He takes down Kha'Zix. What a huge elimination. Both players have been kind of looking to prove themselves in these qualifiers and going into heats. But what a big elim from Rezon. This is usually the rotate he takes, but we don't normally see Kha'Zix there. Usually see him around Slurpee or somewhere else, but a very quick and concise elim there for him, showing that, you know, he may have dominated that qualifier number 1, but he's still dominating these qualifiers day after day after day.
Another couple of players in zone. Certainly not what we expect from EU. We're already down to 69 players in the game, and second zone just closed, or second zone just revealed. First zone just closed. We're starting to get closer to what most of us are a little bit more familiar with in terms of player numbers. Still, of course, way higher, but now Nate. His name is Garrett, apparently here. Nate, again, one of the players who has the FNCS title. As of right now, up against Savid, who had a clutch performance to get back into this moment right here in semifinals. Last game win with 5 eliminations plus to qualify him for this stage right here. And he does this time and time again. Even back to duos, it was a clutch way to get in. Not even making it to the round 3 multiple times, but then in the final week, doing it.
And even if he does go down here, there's still 4 more games to come out, and he's on pace to get to that top 50, to get to that threshold that he needs, as Nate is just going to find a beautiful shot there on to Savid, who has to go on the defense and try to pop shields, and Nate is just going to take him down, both on similar points, but Nate made that look flawless, just got in the box and did not let Savid have any room to breathe there.
It's so loose, so aggressive. The final week, or the final day of FNCS this season is clearly showing that these guys have played already one crazy season, day after day, multiple hours of solo. Scully here too, the former duo partner of Savid, and he's doing almost the same thing, but he'll survive against Light instead of going down. The same situation for Scully, attempting a final week qual. And off to a good start. The 5 points that he has is on pace. 67 players alive. I can't stress enough how aggressive these guys are playing, how different. And maybe how little, for some people, they necessarily, you know, want to get towards the top spots. They're working on a lot of different things, but This is the fewest players we've had at this stage in the game at all in a game 2.
And it just the mix of the last day plus the pressure of not qualifying, it all comes down to the aggression that players are playing into.
And if you're wondering why I'm kind of harping on how the different players, especially those who have already qualified, are playing. In the FNCS, it's multiple attempts at qualifying, multiple ways to get through. But as we get closer, we've already qualified 150 players almost certainly. There's still 200 players who are going to be added through consistency points. So there are so many players playing who have made it or pretty much have clinched making it. And there's very few on the other side who have made it to this round 3 who really need that top 50. So stakes are all over the place for these players until we head into next week.
And what's interesting for Europe is we saw yesterday, if someone picked up a victory royale, they immediately the next game were more than likely to go down within the 90th to 87th range there. GBR-JAMIE proving, however, that to break that pattern and to stay alive and not get eliminated here is very, very good to see out of Europe, because if that's the case in the finals, we saw it happen to Toos, right? He got a victory royale, he lost the game. He did well, he got off spawn eliminated. Then he won another game, and then he ended up making it to that last game, but that does not bode well for the finals. And so if you are winning these games, you're looking to change that and change that around. GBR-JAMIE will be one of those players to do it. Ensar, however, with 2 points, 54 effective HP on the back foot, now 9 effective HP. The wall, the only thing that separates him from being eliminated, and he's going for the edit.
My goodness. If he wins this fight, that'll be one for the books. So difficult, but he's already probably thinking for the worst, that this is almost an impossible situation to get out. The difficulty for him is he cannot go down the hill. Okay, that's a good start. There's no HP heals on this one. He'll throw a crash pad in to interrupt, but unfortunately the right shoulder peek from Ensar is not enough. He'll still be able to trade, and Tuffler Dave will win that one with a well-timed pre-fire.
We also see Bafo falling or getting elimination there onto Link as well. Who Bafo has been in these qualifiers, was here yesterday, but kind of been middle of the pack, has not really made a name for themselves, as of course looking to do it as well as Dave. A lot of these players like Cam here trying to get this elimination on the Benji. This is a very awkward fight here. 52 HP versus like it seemed like 25 HP. They're just trying to find Benji on the back foot, but now Khan looking to heal up. Benji on low HP, I'm not too worried about him missing this elimination and not clutching it up.
I think that he also had a little bit more time there against Khan, who needed to get out of the box before he decided to heal. Benji's going to go again for it, and he has 200 shield, still low HP though. And down the mountain, there's 2 players who could fire upon this. Yes, one's opening a window, so this is definitely about to be third-partied. How does this end? Probably not well for Khan, is my guess. One of the worst players to engage at this stage, but also one of Benji's struggles. The falling shot, Benji did not expect that at all. And Khan will win. Make me eat my words. As I was just about to say that Benji has been doing so well in these mid-game fights, but also his bane, because as he moves forward, he always struggles to get out of positions where a fight doesn't necessarily go the perfect way. And in this case, he just falls outright.
I'm very surprised to see him go down that way, but again, has already qualified, is already making it to those heats, but just looking to get that, like Zeke said, get the extra cash, and just to remind people, hey, you know what, I'm still Benji fishy. You can't take me that easy. Rezon is going to fall to zone there. While he has been having a great day off spawn and in the mid game, this mid into late game transition for him has been something he's really struggled with in these qualifiers. At day 1, he dominated, he did very well. But in the next couple of day 2, day 3, and now we're just seeing in day 4, he has struggled with these rotations.
Don't forget, just because this weekend might not necessarily be starting off well for Benji, you're right. Day 1 and day 2, he really played very, very well. Day 3 yesterday, certainly, especially towards the end of the tail end of the day. But still, I mean, again, Benji already qualified, already proved that he's going to be a contender going into the grand finals. He's still looking for that and hungrier than ever. Although these final stages, this final weekend might be taking a toll on so many. As we could see, the game so low in terms of players. Story going to hop in again onto Kirby right around the wall. Finish that off. Up the mountain we go. We haven't really seen a zone here. And except maybe like day 2, game 6, where Benji ended up coming out on top. But it's so difficult to play on this one. The players who get all the way up. And look how far it's even going down to the southeast. Oh my goodness, this is so difficult. That is a steep drop if it continues to go southeast.
And it's gonna, if it drops off, it's more than likely gonna come back. We know it goes up and down, as Stormy is making his game go up here as he's gonna get that elimination there. Another one just kind of fell into his lap there. He didn't really have the best rotation with that launch pad into the crash pad, but made it work. And now in zone is getting pressured by Flixie, but he's looking good. Well, as I say that, he gets beamed down to very low HP, but he's got the floppers and the surffish inventory, so I'm not too concerned about his position there in zone. It was a very, very good couple of elims, but where he is, if zone pulls down this mountain, ball is right, it is going to be very, very steep, and those players down there are going to have such an easy time to get tags onto these players rotating down. And if you use all your crash pads, all your launch pads to get down, you have got nothing else to get up, so you are hoping for somebody like Diablo to use one down, and it does. It pulls down the mountain.
Oh my goodness. I actually kind of prefer, oh, Nate goes down. I didn't realize that was Nate on the other side of that. Diablo will take advantage of that. They all, unfortunately, still had to move on that 5th zone. Now pressure, lobby focus from so many angles. Oh no, get back up. That's his only hope. He's going to crash pad out instead, but I think that's just going to incur more lobby focus. Though they all shift focus finally down the hill. I was going to say, the fact that 5th zone pulls here, the half in, half out, all the way down, makes it so that players can kind of comfortably go all the way to low ground. And Camie's already there because everybody has to come off the mountain. There's not a single elevation that is up there, although a lot of people might stay up on the very edges and try to tarp in a little bit. But at least everybody's on even footing if it does go right back up.
And Camie looking to secure that. He says, you know what? I want more crash pads. I want more loot. I want to make sure I get myself up there. And he takes down Biflox there really quickly and decisively. And that's not something we've seen in Europe competitive right now. Is it already in the zone, dead center, decides, you know what? I'm going to take a player out. I'm going to decisively do this. Camie, with a very, very smart heads-up play to do that, did net more crash pads as well for himself. As Zone is pulling in, though, he's scouting every which way that he can. But look at the way these builds are built all up over the top of this little water. They're putting themselves in a good spot, but I am worried about Camie down there.
Yeah, there's so many people down there. Actually, I thought that the zone was going to pull off the mountain even more significantly, but like Shinken has found, like so many have found, it's going to come back up. There's no way that, there's no direction that this zone is going to pull that isn't up. Unless it... I mean, even that zone that pulls north, it's going up elevation and then staying a little bit flat, but it still could pull back up or back down in the next one. This is one of the most difficult zones I think we've ever seen.
And a very interesting fact to come out, a winner of every FNCS for Europe is competing today. Janice, Andilix, Nate, Wakey, Snappy, and Shinken.
Janice, the invitational winner, Andalex and Nate, duos winner. Snappy, the squads winner. Shinken, the trios winner. Every single iteration. Just interesting going into this finals. Shinken has not made a very big splash in terms of solos until today. This is the first time I'm seeing him in a set lobby stage. Fell short in the reboot round, unfortunately, during the FNCS Invitationals. But even back to duos, struggling quite a bit since the World Cup days. Lots of launch pads, lots of crash pads to get over the danger we talked about. And there's Janice in the mid-ground layer, but so many other people. There's Thomas HD. I wonder, against Frey right now, he does have Kit's shockwave launcher. He does have Kit's loot, and he'll have to use it. He'll have to reveal, and only 2 more shots. He gets in the zone, though, but no materials. If he survives off of this is a wonder. Has to get an impact, but also has to taste the risk of losing the shockwave launcher. There it is. How many materials? It's only 15 builds. Thankfully, a couple more rockets. He'll pop a pepper. And also the chug splashes to stay alive in this one and continue forward. It's going up the mountain for sure, and there's a catch for Thomas HD.
What a find. He has to be careful, though, with that low match, especially with it going up and down the mountain. He's going to run out. He needs to find that frag, and it's too early for him to take that high ground from Tux. Like we see him up there now. Cammy in your screen as well is still in this game as well. 14 HP. Thomas is actually going for high ground, even though he's got 10 builds. Now down to 2. He's going on to Tux. He's trying to be aggressive. Thomas, I said it was too early, but he says, you know what, Clay? I want to go for it. I want to get this elimination, and I want to get this victory royale. As shots come through, he does take down Tux. The elimination comes through, but yet again, it's only 15 builds.
And a drastic difference. We're in 8th zone with only 6 people left. Thomas HD still going up to the top, and he has the tools necessary, barely inking his way in terms of materials, but it's a long climb up, and I think everybody's spent the mats. There's only one player with the grappler. It's Milan. He's trying to get up desperately, but so difficult. Thomas HD just needs to look down. Zone is going all the way up. He's the only one in. It's over for everybody else, unless for some reason they get the beams. No, they will all fall to zone, and there you go. Thomas HD survives by a thread. Almost had no materials, but he still makes it work.
And Paula, you said you weren't impressed by him, and you know he's rounding out with the victory royale. I definitely think he's putting himself up in the first after that game. He's able to come out of this qualifier on top. I definitely think he would have impressed everybody here today. But we definitely need the analyst to break down that game, so we're going to send it right over to him.
Thomas HD picking up the victory royale here in the second game out of EU. You got to put some respect on the name, man. Understanding and realizing and kind of falling back on his mechanical prowess. Knowing I only have a handful of builds. I have Kit's Shockwave. Do I need to fight those people? No. I just need to get to zone. And that is exactly how that all unfolded. I mean, Sundown, that's just so impressive. And just understanding in those hot moments, like, what are my options? A or B? I gotta disengage, you know? So much respect to him.
He was able to play that brilliantly, and we've talked about how he was one of the 6 players who's made every single one of the finals. He executes so well, and the thing that he's particularly known for is his angles and his ability to just hit shots, and whether it's a sniper rifle or that charged shotgun, he puts it to work, and his precision was on display there, rocketing him up the standings.
Literally,
yes, not
with
only
that Kit Shockwave.
Kid Shockwave was a big thing, but it was also just like the decisions on when to take those elims that Sundown mentioned. It was just a really masterclass about making decisions in the end game.
That's right. Let's take a look at the standings and see how things have shaken out after game number 2 here in the European region. With that victory royale, Thomas HD finds himself in that number 1 spot, only 2 points ahead of Cammy, who is just behind him. But keep in mind, though, Squeeze. Yesterday, we saw him perform so well. He is back in that 3rd place spot looking to rumble.
And currently sitting on 9 eliminations, leading the pack there. We have Stormy Wright as well, a.k.a. Habs, Navi, 7-Tor, the recent signing, Nakama, Erg, YT, Refs Guard, MCS, Andalix, and Wave Steelix rounding out our top 10 right now. All players within a decent range, but Thomas is definitely starting to stretch the top as well as Kami.
This is the first time we kind of see Thomas actually going off this early. Usually it's about game 4 and 5 he finally starts to activate and take these top spots, but now he's in first and the spotlight's on him. Past that though, 11th place down to 20th, Robbie, Slender, Milan, Dango, Handy, Quickho, Diablo, Scram, Tux, and Garrett. I'm looking at people who are just 4 points apart in total, so anything could happen in the next game between placements and eliminations to really shake up the top 20.
Yeah, and don't forget that Grizzy, Garrett, a.k.a. Nate, the FNCS reigning duos champion, as well as World Cup qualifier French player. Incredibly strong there, but recently swapping over and having a little bit of an identity change. However, really solid performance so far out of the crew. But with just 2 games down, there's still plenty of Fortnite to be played. Let's swap on over here to the 3rd page. We see Shink in there, 21st, Godsent Wanky, Amp, Bitflow, Redfear, Doxy, Train, H, Garrett, Smudge, Seiko Jetsku. Become a Legend, Slicks, Wave Janice, and Light being our top 30 right now. 10 points being that line.
Getting word from Bala TW, Train H. Garrett is actually Robabs. So another Garrett in the fold.
Yeah. And then you have Save It all the way here at 31st. This is someone that everyone loves to follow and see. Right now, the big thing, though, to notice is that even all the way from 30th down to 40th place with Frey, it's just a 2-point difference. So once again, from game 1 to game 2, it's an entire different set of players that performed in the game, and because of this, now everyone is that much closer, shoulder to shoulder with each other, going down to top 50. I'm really curious to see exactly what the point breakdown is here. And yes, it's also just 2 points from Diego down to Jay Kramnik. It's even eliminations-wise, it's so close.
Yeah, and we've seen it's still traditionally holding right around that 6 to 7 point mark after 2 games. We're pretty much on pace for the 21 point mark, ending up to be the top 50. So if you're looking to guarantee your spot in heats and an opportunity at the grand finals, you need to be looking to hit that 22 point mark. And with just 4 games left, you need to start executing on your game plan, figure out exactly what you need to do, where you need to go, and how aggressive or passive you should be playing.
Man, now is the time. As you've been saying, we've got 4 games left. You want to absolutely rack up as many series points at worst, but try to make the top 50 placements if possible. The big shout-outs again to Thomas HG picking up that victory royale. I believe we're going to be taking a look at some of the rotations he has made. So, Shai, I'm going to kick it over your way.
Yeah, right here, we're just looking at the turning points for Thomas when it comes to playing these games on rotating. So, half and half actually had no one inside it at all when it appeared. Thomas took quick realization of that, actually using her crash pad, recycling it, and getting all the way down to low ground, being the only person there having to work up multiple mountains to win this game. You'll notice, though, at multiple points, Thomas doesn't really even get near anyone or close to getting an elimination in this half and half in the 5th circle. Because of this, he's kind of really silent. No one really knows exactly where he is. No one takes note of that shockwave launcher. But when he finally pops all the way up and off, more recycling with these crash pads are used. Once again, keeping that shockwave hidden. And right here is kind of a nice decision on, should I build or just go straight down for this elimination onto Tux? He goes for the Elam, gets more control over of an entire layer, and when he's finally up top, all that control pays off, as all 3 people are basically shoved down. No one can make it up. He's controlled everything from high to low ground, and he wraps up that game, I think, in the most effortless way possible.
It's definitely effortless. We talked about the high ground control in Old Man Mountain there. If you're able to position yourself adequately and you have the shockwave launcher, it means someone else doesn't, then the only way to get up is that glider grapple gun. Nobody able to make it happen, and Thomas, of course, is more than capable of raining shots down from above and making them connect.
And I'm so happy that finally it feels like these players are breathing life into today's games. Thomas, HD there, Cammy, and Exqueeze. I mean, I like as well that Cammy and Thomas kind of switched, because like Cammy won first game, and then the second game placed 13, and then here comes Thomas HD placing 8th, and then gets the victory out. I like this, especially with Thomas as one of those guys that's like, if he's either going to be eliminated before top 75, or he's going to make it to top 10 every time. And when you put something like Kid Shockwave in his hands, he's going to execute and make the big plays that he needs to boost himself up the leaderboard.
Those are the plays you have to make, and we talk about it, just consistency, getting the eliminations, and getting into endgame. Now as we head into our halfway mark, you're going to need to do everything you can to at least get some points, get on the board, and establish yourself. You want to kind of segment the tournament out, either in terms of, okay, what does my first third look like? What does my first half look like? And what do I need to do in these next 3 games? Right now, this is a pivotal point of either putting yourself in contention for the top of the leaderboard or knowing whether or not you just need to solidify a top 50 spot to guarantee a position in heats.
Man, well, gentlemen, it is time to get back into our games. Game number 3 here of EU in the Fortnite Champion Series. Let's send it over to our casters to get us into it.
Thank you so much, Zeke. The final day, we're also seeing the final hour for a lot of players trying to make it in, trying to claw their way in for these final attempts. 24 players have already clinched who are playing today. Of course, more have done that through series points. We'll try to identify who those are. I'm definitely guessing that Save It, Scully, some big names who are consistently in that point, but consistently make it past the threshold, needing to actually get in. So, game 3, and there's a lot more going on down at Caddy Corner. I see 4 players in the vicinity, much to what we saw yesterday with the players who were landing there. Toos versus Thomas HD. Thomas HD has the north side, though, this time. And given the fact that we saw last game, multiple games in a row where it went to the north side kit in that case. I'll be joined by Clay in a little bit of a moment. I think he's here with me right now. What's up, man?
I am, and I'm excited just to see how the 78 other players are going to do, right? We saw Dan Gums in that game get second place, and I want to give a little shout out to him because he tweeted back on August 3rd, if he makes it to Heats, if he makes it to these moments, he's going to give all that money back to his grandma who helped start his Fortnite gaming career. And those are the moments we love to see in Fortnite. We love to see people giving back to the people that started him. So great second place there for him. He did unfortunately fall to the zone like we saw, and Thomas HD came out on top. Just wanted to highlight a great moment there. Scram just absolutely destroys that player, and they're a little bit far away from Misty Meadows.
That they are. Oh, boy. So many departures on the drop spots in this final week, but also so many departures from what we are used to seeing out at AU. But regardless, here's Thomas HD and already departing from Caddy Corner. I'm going to guess, yes, again, 3 games in a row. 3 games, no fights. 3 games, the Kit Shockwave launcher in his hands. Last game was a little bit crazy, a little bit chaotic. But this time, looks like it's going to be different. Already hunting, though, and he for sure has a greater kit. No pun intended than this player right in front of him heading out of Lazy Lake already. Most likely only gotten a couple of chests, only gotten a little bit of loot. Thomas HD hunting.
And that is so scary to see. So Thomas HD hunting a player. And we talked about it in game number 1. He has yet to pick up a sniper in these games. And we all know him as the best sniper in the European region. And the fact that he's winning and on top without a sniper says that maybe he's the best sniper, but maybe it's time to ditch it, right? Maybe it's time to say, hey, you know what? I've got to set loot, pool. I've got to set game plan. And now I got to make it work with it as we see Wyzip here, my apologies there. Just in retail row, going very aggressive, trying to track this player with those crash pads, but they are going to get away. And RPG is to blow up the crash pad. He almost actually ended up taking down Wyzip, and that's Refsguard.
That's Refsguard. He's in 8th place. Played really well in the first game. And now to continue now, gets into another house and in the cone inside of the garage. He'll actually go for it. I don't think he expected that at all out of the natural doorway there. Gets one big tag, and now he's put his opponent on the back foot. A crash pad in. Ooh, it's big. He's through. He's through into the box, and Wyzip is through to the lobby. Refsguard continues to survive and has done such a great job in retail row to hold it down for what he needs going forward. I think this is a switch from him off of Steamy Stacks to retail row within the last couple of days of qualifiers, and now he's got it almost for free. If he could push one more player away, and he will at least reach that goal.
On the flip side, however, Flies 3 total points. Again, Sundown mentioned at the very beginning of the broadcast, 21 has been the point threshold for almost every single day of Europe. He's going to need a good amount of points to come in these next couple of games. A little ambush is being snuck up on. His shots are coming through. He is going to find that player in the crash pad immediately. The hesitation was not there. He's going to pick this elimination up if he just keeps hitting his shots. And he goes for the pick.
Come on. Where's the taunt? We know it's coming. No, okay, it's not. Maybe not going and playing the mind games here at Frenzy Farm, but at least the pickaxe will put a little bit of fear into the other players' hearts. Regardless, nice play from him. Again, significant. The crash pad in. He also had the stinks to finish that fight. I think that was going no matter which way in the last seconds it would have gone. Oh, Ensar misses the first shot. That could have been a huge opener, but still low HP on the other side no matter what. And I believe pretty much low materials given that he's farming on the top of the hotel. Here's a decoy to throw it. Oh, fool, Lanoof. He almost had that. He was almost over the side with a 1 pump. But Ensar will survive and trade the damage enough. Also, very low HP for Ensar too. If you're new to this FNCS this season, the solos format definitely a little bit different, guys. 14 points of placement available for winning that game. And it starts all the way back from 75th. There's the thresholds right on your screen. Definitely a little bit more placement heavy than prior. Oh, Thomas. Oh, so genius.
Oh.
Another trap. Another trap. How? In this case, he goes into the garage, which from the outside looking in, you can tell when nobody has actually gone into there. But there's one wall that you can't see because of the garage blocking that side. And if that garage door is not down, you expect there to be a free chest. But you don't expect Thomas HD on the other side of that wall. Wow.
Traps may no longer be in the game, but these players are setting him up very, very well. We see Ocean right now about to set up one of his own. His shots are coming through. That player is going to get trapped over their ramp, and another one hiding behind a wall.
And the worst wall to be hiding behind, too. Unfortunately, put himself underneath his stairs, and he can't even take that wall to be able to edit through it because of that brick. You cannot place a wall there. Ince knew that, and Ince will do exactly the same as Thomas HD. Oh boy, we are having a bit of a struggle for everybody rotating through these small spots.
Someone who does need to worry about their rotation right now is Slicks. We do hop on board here with him as he's moving up to a player. I believe they know that this player is up there, but they're also setting up an ambush. As shots come through, they are not going to connect. But this has the trouble of being Mr. Savage. I don't believe it is him, as it's going to be Spectre there, but that big chunk of damage puts the fight back into Slicks' favor. But the rotation here, everyone in the coming qualifiers in the heat has to be worrisome about Mr. Savage rotating in, because he has been known to be in this area. He is known to rotate over to Orchard and over to Weather Station to cause some fights. As we swap over to Spectre's perspective, as the crash pads are being used by Slicks, but not able to get anything done in this fight and move it towards him. This is another one of those fights we may see drawn out very, very long and very, very time-consuming. But there's players nearby. That player from Craggy coming in. It could be Chapix. It could be Savage. Slicks needs to end this as the third-party shots are now coming in. He realizes that, and now is going for the chop down.
Yeah, but a lot of builds here make it difficult to reset. Definitely a viable tactic, but when it's connected by so much, it's often used as a kind of just changing the information that the other player has, right? A misinformation play in a sense. Saying, oh, I'm chopping down. You can hear my pickaxe sound. Please come down. And then when he does, he retakes the height. That's the exact situation.
And as that fight ended, Chapix actually took down Mr. Savage. So a very, very, very back and forth battle there, which we can only assume is happening in Craggy. But if Chapix is able to establish dominance over Craggy and make it to the heats and make it to these finals, it'll kind of stunt Mr. Savage and what he wants to do in his rotations and keep him from being where he wants to be in the game. As Tux taking a lot of damage now on your screen. He's got the potential to turn this back. But what's worrisome about Tux is he doesn't have any HP in his inventory. He's got no heals, no shields, no slurpfish, nothing to work with there. The crash pads are there, but if he gets into an engagement that's prolonged, or if his shields gets tagged off by a sniper rifle, Tux has got to make a play to get some elims, as the crash pad's actually going to be used aggressively there from Tux. And that's going to be a nice beam there from him, as Jetsku is just absolutely on the back foot as Tux going aggressive. The crash pads will more than likely be used to close the distance there. Tux, though, down to no HP, no shield as well, but he's going to be able to get Jetsku the damage already dealt, putting the fight back into his favor. And now look at the loot that he's got. A very, very, very big step up for him.
That it is. Most importantly on HP, right back into it. Slightly more stacked this game, but certainly still feeling the aggressiveness. Scram in a bush, also setting a trap. Squeeze is near. That's dangerous. We have notifications, I think, for the first time today. But most likely not even going to be an impact, given how there's 3 players I could see down in the south, right past the bridge, who were engaged for a brief moment. Sweez making the rotate. Oh, he's actually worried about the surge. He's actually going to go straight towards this box, and I think players know. At least one from range spots it. I don't think that these guys did, though. And they'll have to box up and give up the jig, though.
He's in an interesting spot, but we do want to point out this is the first time in EU that the winners of game number 1 and number 2 have both made it to the top 70 in game number 3. And this alludes back to that point that I was talking about as we see Sweez get a nice elimination on Defray, where those players that won game number 1 went down in game number 2, and the players that won game number 2 went down in game number 3. It's the same sort of stat, but just put into different wording there for y'all, because it's so monumental. If these players are winning these games and they're going back to back in great games and they go down in the finals, it doesn't look good for them.
Yeah, and one of the reasons for that is how players are fighting so early in the game, making it so that you don't have to make it to third zone, halfway through third zone or fourth zone to make it past that point and start accruing not only points but easier sections of the games to rotate through. It's just happening earlier. More reminiscent of lobbies that we get in the semifinals or even open stages, where it might be easier to make it to the later stage of the game, but surviving at that late stage of the game is often troublesome because you never know when Mr. Savage is going to drop in your box or any random player who's playing today. So we'll have to see.
And Tuck's one of those players that's able to do that with the crash pads. We've kind of highlighted them. There was a segment on I think day number 2 there that Shio and Sundown put together, is they're so useful at getting into boxes, and Tux didn't even use them there. He just walked into Kura's box like Kura was just sitting there waiting for him, and Tux said, you know what, you're waiting for me, but in reality, I knew you were there, and I wanted that elimination.
Still 2 players here, though, and he still has the time, even though they're both spraying at him, to fire back upon one of them and not take a single shot, too. Well done from Tux. Already a sticky situation. Sweez has gotten what he wants, and he's out of here. He's survived the surge and potentially gotten a little bit of damage to start that off. And he'll have to spend a launch pad to get back in the zone. I think potentially he has multiple. Potentially doesn't want to be put in a position like Mystex, who's on the back side of this zone, potentially going to overcome him. But so many players still making that rotate as well. I guarantee the people in zone won't have to be too worried. And he's also got old builds to work through as well, which I think that Tux would have had the same situation, given that we saw Sweez disengage and we saw the other player disengage through there too.
And Mystic rotating with that sniper out gave me a little worry for concern that he was going to look for that elim. Wasn't able to get it on the rotation. Thomas, however, is looking over in Mystic's direction as shots are connecting there for him. This player is just hoping that that last shot does not connect, and they've left the wall open, and Thomas is looking to get the elimination, not able to get it. Again, this is a very hard rotation. If you're on that backside of zone, this is not the zone, the northeast side of zone, as you see, where nobody is there, no one's contesting you. Everybody is here. Everyone is looking for these eliminations. And as you see, a couple box-to-box fights happening as Kims is going to take down Mystics. The pressure from Thomas HD is not letting these players get in his zone. He wants these eliminations to solidify his lead.
There's still a player out there. Thomas is not going to be able to find it. The other guy went down to somebody else's hands. Notably, Thomas has upgraded that blue AR he had earlier to an epic burst AR. And almost actually found the different angle as well to break through that wood. I like this again, and it's Kezix who thinks he has the opportunity to go in zone and get a little bit of loot, but Thomas takes advantage of that. As soon as he sneaks out back, Thomas will sneak into his box, into his old tarp, And be ready for he goes up into that wall. Kezik's with the pickaxe out. One shot, and he's done.
Thomas on the prowl is very, very scary looking here for Europe. If he's able to do that in finals and do it without fear of punishment, he's looking really good. And someone who's not going to get punished for going into the box right now is Wakey, but now the lobby is saying, wait, you just got free loot. We can tag you up. We know you're sitting on piles of loot. Wakey is going to have to get out of it. He doesn't have a lot of builds, and I don't think he picked up a lot from it. 36 builds remaining, and he doesn't have the wall behind him. And Wakey, it's taken down there by Jake.
Knock, knock. I got this wall, man. Paying attention. Jake will get that and also get the spoil. So much loot available. Benji sitting by himself. That's a good sign. Cammy nearby him led as well. They're engaged in a fight. Light pressuring that wall. I'm wondering now where Thomas HD set up. Benji's on the other side, opposite to where that was. 57 players now in this game. And we're approaching the end. Benji has some tools, but not that much. And I think he's looking to see if this guy gives him an opportunity. Looking to see if this guy's going to start firing off. Now looking in the sky, hoping and praying for a little bit of that good old Benji RNG. A player in the bottom of his box. Oh, he's got all the walls. Ho, ho, ho. Okay. Flips that around. I'm not sure why he was in there, but he was. Almost an RPG sneaks in, but Benji has the fortitude to hang on. It's a max distance pull. Thankfully, Benji just got one, but hopefully there was some heals in that player's inventory so that he could heal up before starting to make this rotate.
And let's just go back to how good Benji is at scouting the area around him and scouting the players near and close to him, and of course far away. He knew that there was a player near him and heard that crash pad. I believe that's what got the player into the box. And Benji sitting up top said, you know what? You don't even realize I'm up here. Quick little edit. Nice elim there for him. On the flip side, though, Revsguard focusing on this third party. I believe this may be right near Benji as this fight looking like it's going to end up here in Revsguard's favor. He does have that RPG, and he does end up taking down Ravlax. And a quick little launch pad away, gets an elim, and he's out.
And he'll be able to land on a very, very nice spot. He's already gotten it marked. This metal base has a wall to connect. He's back up. Connects a wall of his own. Now looks back, but everybody in zone. So quickly do they move. So quickly. Are all the opportunities on gliding in gone? Now, our third end game of the day. Andalex is one of the final remaining players who has to make it in zone, and he does. But looking back up, he has nothing in his inventory. He wants more. Oh, there's a cone. Oh, nice play to take the floor and then edit both your cone that you took a little earlier. That's why you always got to be careful of what you own. Andalex, who was tarping from down below, switched to the cones instead to get that layer of safety, and then takes huge advantage of that with the other player focused on something else. This is why you see Andalex time and time again getting in good positions. Now 6 zone. Crash pad, he's looking for it. He's actually looking for the loot through that brick wall. You could spot the gaps in brick. Just barely. Even if it's not yours, there's holes in that brick where people who laid it did not leave all the pace. Regardless, he spots the loot. There's nothing for him to actually go for. He thought that there potentially was more mobility, more mats, but nothing.
And he desperately needed more ammo. It was only on 6 AR. Really needed to find something. Slender, however, in a very good spot to pick up elimination onto a player in the backside. He is going to go for the flopper play this time around. He does have the crash pad nearby, but with it going down the way he went, he needs to get back up the mountain. He will get the elimination onto Jake, so the siphon does come through as well. He's going to look at to pick up another one, and that's going to be a nice elim there onto Quick How. And Slender operating the backside of zone very, very well and effectively as crash pads are now coming through. He's going to look to play front side of zone.
That he is, and more crash pads will get him way up there, and there he is into zone. Swee's still up in this game. He's got an elim. Slender, who we saw in game number 2 with a couple of RPG shots to make things work. It's Thomas HD on height. Not unexpected at all. But I'm wondering, does he have the materials to actually hold? Game 2, that was an issue for him. He still made it work. Game 1, he made it to the top 10. Probably in a situation just like this, but running out of materials. So how does this one go? Potentially in the exact same direction. Flies getting so close to that front of zone again. No more crash pads to use. And he's going to go down onto ultimate low and potentially play floppers to get through. Somebody's firing upon him. No! Flies, how do you make it out of this one?
And it looks like floppers are going to be where he gets out of it. Playing that backside zone, still has a good amount of mats as well. The RPG is out. He's looking for it. That's going to be Nate going down. A big elim by Flies. He still needs to get into zone, but he still has 2 more floppers remaining after that pop. On the bottom side of your screen, you see Slender going for backside of zone elims as well. Flies is going to use that RPG again to try to get an impact frag, but he's not going to be able to do it. 4 shots being taken by him, and he's still continuously pushing forward as Slender on the backside is going to be able to pick up a nice elim.
And more loot falling into him. Thankfully, he just got a refresh so he can box it up and get more. Back up to 61. Builds another player in the box. Oh, he gets taken out. That's Refscard, who was in 8th place. Slender might now start to overtake him. We've got Benji in the game. We've got Link, and Thomas HD still holding on to height. But the RPG from Flies will continue to pressure onto players down a low squeeze. Just crash pad elimed. Thomas HD off a height. Crash pad against the shockwave launcher, and now that's out of the game because that loot is still all up there. That gives the opportunity for this to be a regular game. Flies just got another one, and Slender too. The duel, 5 elims for both, but more importantly, up on height, it's Teak fighting against Ocean. Squeeze is down.
And with that, that's so huge. It leaves Teak the opportunity to take it from Ocean. But it's Slender on your screen now, 20 HP. He's got to find elimination. He's got to find time to pop these minis as well. The zone pulling back away from him just a little bit. He's good. Teak is going to pick up another elimination. Scram is going to go down there to Flies. So Flies now with 6. Slender now with 5. Teak is going to go down there to Ocean. So it's Ocean, Flies, and Slender. The RPG is out. He's looking for it. Ocean needs to make a play. It seems like he's running out of builds as he's not building ahead of these players. He's looking for anything, but reminder, no kit shockwave launcher. RPG coming out there with the crash pad, a little stylish there. Shots coming through, Slender trying to connect, but the shockwave launcher is in place. Someone actually grabbed it, Flies going down, but Slender goes back to pick up 2 eliminations and the victory royale.
I don't know where the shockwave launcher came. I thought it was out of the game. Potentially somebody went in the zone to pick it up. Oh my goodness. What a finish there in the final moments. The back-to-back elims, even after having a crazy mid-game roll through. That was impressive. And we'll need a little bit of a breather. Game 4 is coming up after this, and we got the analysts to get breakout, more action.
My, oh my, Slender picking up the victory royale, chaining together 7 eliminations, getting 21 points off that game. Shy, I believe he was in like 15th place, and now with this game, he's going to find himself pretty high up those standings.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the top 5, a new challenger approaches, and his moveset is looking spicy. I'm not going to lie, Slender was basically sleeping, I guess, and finally woke up for this game. And against RPGs, against all odds, just won every fight, and then ended up winning the game.
And I think the key there at the end was getting that siphon right on the second to last guy, allowing him to chain those 2 eliminations together. We talk about the end game, how it comes down to reaction time, practice, and being in those scenarios. A lot of players might panic in that situation, being down at 10 HP, but he was able to turn that one around. We can see now that will rocket him up to 2nd place with the victory royale and 11 eliminations, 37 points for him. Thomas HD, though, still holding out that top spot at 39. MCS X Squeezy RR 12 elims, 35 points. Cammy FN with the victory royale we saw earlier at 28, and then Refscard still matched with him, 10 eliminations, 28 points will be our top 5.
And again, mad props to Thomas HD. Clay actually talked about it during the broadcast. A lot of times you see players pick up the victory royale, and then they can't quite translate that in the next game. Thomas, though, says, hold on, everybody. Watch me hit top 15. Watch me make the plays, and that is why he's holding down that spot.
Hold on are the 2 operating words for, I think, everyone in the top 20 and the top 30 right now. People like Ocean insert moving straight through. People like Slender now taking spots in the top 5. But everyone else, like we saw on the last page, Savage was in 11th. He's still there. Link is also still here 23rd. Milan is staying on this page, trying not to get overtaken by all these new guys in game number 3, trying to find their spot in the top 50.
And that's what they're looking for right now. You can see Teak also being able to push himself up, one of those 6-time qualifier. Oceans, as you talked about, pushing himself with a decent performance, going up to 16 points as well. However, top 50 is the line we're talking about today. A lot of the players who you've seen have either already qualified or gotten enough series points to go through, but a number of them have not, and will be looking to cement themselves and given an opportunity to play in the heats and potentially the grand finals next weekend. As we see 31st to 40th, we have P90, Hycris, Yinks, Wakey, Diablo, Nate, Benji, Light also rounding out that page, and then some notable names on the next one. We have Shinken, Diego, GB, 2 World Cup qualified players. Jams and Kura also playing pretty well so far today. Jams shout out with 0 eliminations so far, but the placement points racking it up.
Yep, and this is where we're at, 10 points in total. That's the kind of barrier to hit if you want to be allowed to play with the 50 big boys in Europe. I want to see who else is going to enter and who can't hold on.
Man, guys, we're halfway through the competition, 3 games left, and that is it. The next step will be the heats before grand finals. Now, of course, it's time to do probably like a temperature check and see how things are going for the players at the top. So, gentlemen, I'm going to leave this up to you two.
So we're going to take a look and hop on board here with 3 of our players who are in the top 3, now still in the top 5. First off, it's MCS X Squeezy. We saw him get 2nd place yesterday. Kiriachi ending his run a little bit early and enabling Twos to take away the top spot, but he's coming back with a vengeance, and he's doing it with early game aggression, looking to close the gap. As now we hop back on over here to Kami. We saw him take away a key victory royale earlier. He has the Axolotl skin on there, but trying to close the gap and continue to keep pressure on his opponents. This is something he does so well, Shile.
Yeah, he does, but I think in this game, it was the one where he actually got taken down and out. Thomas HD was the only person to really hold on to his spot, but people are catching up fast. We saw Slender win up that last game. He passes X-Squeeze and Cammy. Thomas is now in trouble. Just 2 points separating him and 2nd place. Still played very smart in that game. Got some clutch eliminations. You saw the trap he kind of set up right there for that chest. It's been happening all across the world in every region, but he makes it look the best right now from what we're seeing today. Has the shockwave launcher and all opportunities to end up winning this game, and got a few clutch picks. Unfortunately, though, did not actually get to see the super ending for the game, but still so many close calls for him that he ended up getting nice shots all the way around, controlling every vertical kind of position and being able to hit headshots on every single person he's diving down from with his charge shotgun. Has limited AR, but made every shot count towards the end game too. And then in response to that shockwave launcher was almost there, but didn't actually let him survive at the very end.
I definitely think when you think of Thomas, you think precision aiming. That's automatically you go first to the sniper rifle, but even when he has that charged shotgun or one of those burst rifles, he's able to make players pay more often than a lot of the top competitors in Europe, and I think it's really what gives him an edge in these competitions, and there's a reason why he's qualified for all 4 of these finals, and we see him at the top right now.
Can't forget though, because Squeeze right behind there. Twos picked up the Victory Royale, stealing it away, and Squeeze is back today for vengeance. With that being said, Fortnite fam, we are going to go to a break. When we return, we'll have the final 3 games here out of EU. Stay tuned. We'll see you guys in 5. What's up, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to continued coverage of the Fortnite Champion Series. I'm your host, Zeke, and joining us here on the analyst desk, we got Sundown, we got Shywager, and in just a moment, we'll have more games. Guys, with only 3 games left to go, a lot of these players looking to find themselves in that top 50 bubble, because this is their last chance to qualify.
I mean, that's what they're looking to do, push forward towards the top. The question is, who's going to be able to make one of those runs, get the key game in, and push themselves into the top 50? And also, can Thomas HD hold on to that #1 spot? We haven't seen him able to really put together a complete tournament performance. We've seen either a really good start so far today or a really good back half. I want to see him put it all together and finish it out.
Well, we don't have to wait too much longer. With 3 games left, let's send it back over to our casters. And keep in mind, we're jumping into this game in Circle 3. Bala, Clay, let's get into it.
Past the halfway mark and also potentially past the halfway mark in this game. We're catching up to what is live and catching up to all the action in this. This is going to be interesting, Clay, because always in these solo qualifying days, the halfway or the action heats up past the halfway mark. We get closer and closer to finding our winner, but the standings also get even closer.
And I'm not expecting anything else from Europe. I'm expecting action-packed plays to the very, very end. Mention how close it is. It's close to the top, but it's also close at the bottom, right? It's within a point for that qualification spot there. 9 points right now was sitting in, good coming in. So everybody that's around there that you see has a chance to qualify. Again, it's going to be 21 points. Around there is what we're projecting for that qualification at the end of these 6 games. So people like Slender, while they're at the top, absolutely dominating, they are for sure qualified. So you got to keep your eye on that number right there. If they're up there in the top, they're making it, but it's also at the bottom as well. We also have a replay coming in to just kind of break down what happened early in the game. As again, we hopped in pretty early. Now, this is Thomas HD. We know he's in the lead right now. We know he's #1, but dropping a caddy this time is actually going to be contested by 2 different players. He does only have that common tactical shotgun, and that player ended up having shields, but unfortunately, he is going to fall to Dietrich. Now back over to Lazy Lake, as we haven't seen many fights come out of this area, but aka Habs here is one of those players that is in the top 50 at the time being, is looking for this elimination there on to Keswick. So it actually looks like Keswick is looking for the elim there on to Habs as the disengage comes through, but Habs is disengaging right into another player. Doxy can be on the top, and I think Habs actually managed to squeak out underneath both of those players. As you see, over the top of them, Habs just have crash pads, and both players now are on top of each other. And Habs can disengage. He can go away, but Keswick has not forgotten. Keswick says, you know what? I know you're in this box. I know you're here. I'm looking for this elimination, and I'm not going to let you get away. Flopper there for Habs in case he takes any damage, but not having any shields to start with and no shields in the inventory is looking very, very worse for wear. Does have that crash pad in case he needs to get in, and he actually decides to use it to disengage. I think he tried to get in, but not so good for him. There's the shields. The tags come through. Again, no shields there. The flopper will be popped. That's his last choice of action. The crash pad going to be used defensively there to try to bounce Essex away, and Habs has to get out. 4 builds remaining, 3 builds remaining, 3 crash pads as well. He's going to look to set up an ambush. The right-handed peek going to save her a 73 tag. It could be moving this back over. Crash pad in. He's going to go aggressive. The shot going to come through, and he takes down Keswick. That's going to be the elimination while he played the back foot the entire time. He does end up coming out on top as we see Hardfine take down a player in the feed as well. We'll now swap over to the zone as Kaspera, a player we have not seen much of these qualifiers, is looking all right. He is on pace to get a couple points behind from that top 50 right now, but with 3 games to go, he needs to set a course for that top 21 points. And top 50 go through to the Heats as he's looking to heal up inside of the zone. We'll see if he does end up finding anybody outside as well. He's got that sniper in his inventory to try to look for any sort of snipe there that reminiscence of Thomas HD.
The player isn't pleasant. Still players he has to get through, potentially, like you said, the snipe, but it just barely misses. Now potentially needs to go even farther wide, farther left. Kaspersa almost makes an impact, but not quite. More off over towards the bridge. And definitely a lot more players outside of zone, even than we saw in game number 2. We're almost there, past the halfway mark, and players are playing even looser. 76, Surge might be still active, and we saw that be very, very critical. I mean, we saw Sweeze have to dive in a box with players like Refsguard on the backside of it. Here's another snipe there. Like you called, he'll find it. That's a big pickup at 1 point, but also it was the 75th mark, so 2 points for just that one elim, and also all that loot. Hopefully there's an upgrade or something that Kaspersa can get his hands on.
What a big swing to get 2 points with 1 elimination. It also starts to dwindle down the number of players for Storm Surge as well. Now only 5 players need to go down, and he gets a lot of damage, so he doesn't need to worry about that. At 262 damage is looking really good on that leaderboard. And on turn Flies, who we just saw absolutely pop off in the last game, is very little early Storm Surge damage. And that's why you see him going aggressive. He's got 45 seconds to make a play, and Scully is just going to turn around and one-charge him.
Oh my goodness. Sometimes that thing surprises everybody by the damage output it can have, and still another fight. There's literally 7 people within this one main house at Frenzy Farm. Scully in a very tough situation. Shaken will get him down, and all of a sudden, Scully thought he was so happy with that, so ready. Especially landing there and getting that through. That was beautiful. But unfortunately, the amount of people makes it so impossible for him to get away from the lobby focus.
And you saw that stat fly in there. Already everybody over the top previous record for the top 3 games of overall the qualifiers. 39 with Thomas HD. 37, I believe, with Slender, and 35 with Xweeze. So everybody kind of breaking that record today. And now Storm Surge is activated. This is one of the first times we've seen it here today as well. Once before, but people like Farrens are concerned a little bit, but there's only 2 players that need to go down before it turns off and deactivates. He's not too concerned. What's really good for him is if you look at where he's rotating on the map in the bottom right-hand corner, if he takes this river path here, he's relatively uncontested. He's got a free white line into zone, and he doesn't have to worry about spinning too many builds.
And he doesn't. Right around the corner, and potentially can even go down under the bridge. So he's not concerned at all. By the way, to add a little bit more on the stat side of things, the one thing that Clay, you talked about and was on the screen for a brief moment there, the points are top heavy. That means a lot of the top 10 have the majority of the points. What that also means is that qualifying threshold that we're used to seeing at 21, if the way that things are going continues, that threshold might be lower today. Because there is a limited amount of points overall available for the entire lobby. 1 point per elim, and then everybody in their placement thresholds and such. Which means if it's top heavy, the bottom side might not be getting those points. So it could be lower. Top 50, who knows? It could be easy for a player like Diablo, who I haven't seen quite yet in the round 3. On the final day, he could be making it in with just 16 points or 18. Right now, the pace for 50 is at 11 points. And at the halfway mark, still on pace for around 21, 22. But we'll have to see how that actually continues.
And with that elimination there on to Robabs, he says, you know what? I'm going to be on pace. I'm going to keep up. As the lobby starts to move through the zones and through time, I'm going to keep getting those eliminations. That was a nice one there on to Robabs. As that format comes in, again, it is top heavy in the format as well. When you start to get to the top of those placement thresholds, you do get more points, especially for that Victory Royale. 14 points overall for it. So every elim is going to be worth 1 point. That's why you see P9 for EP90 here. Let's have that 1 point for this game. Is sitting on 16 currently. But will again need to push themselves up more and more towards those placement in this game and the next game, and of course the final game, secure themselves a top 50 spot. This is a little bit different of a zone for these players. We haven't had this directly center zone in the map in a while. We've been playing around the mountains. This could lead to a lot of different play styles being played out. We don't have to go up and down different elevations. Frenzy Farm is relatively flat in the elevation that it's on. So people like 4EP90 who don't have a lot of mobility in the terms of launch pads, they do have some crash pads and the peppers, but those are not that recyclable there in their inventory. They've got a good chance at making it into that top 10 moment that we all want to get into.
Okay, there's Slicks down in the hands of 4E Submachine Gun, I think you mean, Clay. As he goes on the side of the corn, Burst AR will make quick work of Slicks. And a lot of players up on the north side. 4E Submachine Gun might actually be able to get a lot of players on the outside of this. I'm just kidding. P90 inside of that main house still. That could have been the guy who took outs earlier. Scully, right inside of that main house. Potential for him to even grab more because there's so many people.
In contrast, someone who has a lot of people nearby, but his rotate will be relatively clean, especially with that player using a crash pad. It's going to be Scram, not someone we've seen a lot of today, but has 25 points, so he's obviously making it to these games, these late games where he's getting these place-up points and getting eliminations, but we'll really see if he's going to be able to get a standout performance. And as I'm saying, that player in his box, and he tries to get the elimination, but Kanjet going to be the one to do it, and that's a desperate move by Kanjet. He realized, hey, I only have 5 points. I got to get in. I've got to go aggressive, but now Milan realizes, hey, I just tagged you for shields. Your shields are gone. I'm going to keep doing what you just did there.
That he will. Shields down, gets in the box, finds the elim. That noise attracts so much attention and really puts the fire in the eyes of anybody who actually got the crack to dive into that box. When you hear that shield crack, that's the sign, hey, that's a potential elim. All I need to do is fire a couple of shots because we know where that HP is. At least 100 maximum. 55 below for Arrogate. He's going to go into the same box. Another crash pad in. He gets the cone on it, but he loses track. Oh, he loses track, but Rezon tries to escape. Thankfully, Arrogate is able to find him at the last second. And that's Rezon down to another crash pad into a box.
This is probably the most concerning play out of one of our winners from the previous qualifications that I'm really worried about. Is Rezon has been having decent days after his qualification, but today in particular, he has not been playing what we expect from him. And that's really concerning going into heats because these players right now, a lot of them have not made it to this stage of the format and of the process for qualifying. And so if they make it into heats and they're the ones contesting him at Holly or contesting him on these rotations into mid into late game, it is very concerning where he's going to end up falling in those finals. You see a nice elimination here from Frizzy onto Robbie, who was just sitting there waiting for that one.
Peak also finding one. You're right. There's definitely some players who might be underperforming today, but I don't know how much we could actually read into that. This is a weird day. Zeke said at the very top of the show after game 1, that feeling was this is going to be different, and we're seeing a huge difference. Not even Surge in some cases. Sometimes it's stacked, sometimes it's not. I mean, you could point out Reason, but you could also point out Benji, Mr. Savage, so many. Here's Squeeze inside the box. The floor's not there. Eddie N will end up falling to Squeeze, who now has to spend the time getting back into it, but he actually survives off of that, and I like the way that he's playing off of this cone. Kind of makes it so that somebody might drop into the box without even seeing him, how deep he's playing into it.
And that's something that's evolving out of the crash pad meta is you have to be able to hide in your own box, whether it be a layer above or in the same box. You really have to find these areas. You saw Benji do it where he hid in the cone. Squeeze now hiding in the box in the cone as well. Different layers there, but this is something that we'll see adapt from players. Is a lot more opportunities to hide in your box, let that crash pad come in, and then look for the elimination.
Here you go, moving zone. This is what happens in the end game of competitive Fortnite. To try to thin and make sure that these players are active and not sitting in one spot. A nice look back from Kazuna. Another thing that you got to be aware of, when you can make it to the front, there's always going to be players in the back. You might even find another one, but the crash pad will get him forward. Now he has to focus back on catching up to that moving zone. It's gone deeply ahead of him. And still a lot of other players in this. Up above, it's AR Baffo. He's not in zone either, but has some mobility. And certainly the tools. There's a launch pad. He'll be able to take like a second height layer, potentially. Yes, oh, but he goes into a box. Never want what you want to do, but he'll make it work. Cammy misses the shots, and AR Baffo hits them. Thankfully, he has the tools to get back into this. The Shark Splash will get him back up to max HP very quickly in conjunction with the Slurp Fish. And there it is. Still 2 floppers remaining. He can play the zone if he needs to.
And the Chuck Splashes as well. That's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to pop a flop, look for a crash pad, which you saw, I think, 10 of them right there. As he's going to take that. But what's concerning right there in the middle of your screen is Squeeze is down to 25 effective HP. We just saw him take a lot of damage. Baffo did make it into zone pretty far ahead. Squeeze is looking really, really, really bad here. 81 effective HP. Doesn't really have a lot of mats. Doesn't have any shields to take. He just ended up taking his last one as he took a lot of damage. As he's looking for an elimination, he desperately needs this. He's got to go in, and he does. And it's on to Repscard yet again. No mats were picked up, though. Only 14 builds. But he's on to a player. Crash pads almost into his box. And he gets a big tag, but he's not able to capitalize.
And the speed of this player, Squeeze, on the wall to quickly turn, make that shot, and then get the entire box to make sure he's safe. Even with the remaining mats that he has, he's making every single bit count. Another crash pad to get him in to zone. He has one more box remaining, but still charging that shotgun every time, making sure that he has something left in the tank. And then sitting quiet in his box as everybody falls. He's going to approach even more placement and potentially overtake the top spot. 45 points now, and still looking for more.
And this would be great for McSqueeze. Again, he did not, finish off that well yesterday, but looking to just come out online. But no, he is going to fall as he does end up getting the elimination there onto Slender. Smudge going to be the one to do it. Now, has to be careful about getting in his own. Stormy Right still alive. AR Baffo alive. The Shockwave launcher is in play. I believe Kazuna may have that. We see Teak in this game as well. Smudge trying to crash pad through the middle of your screen. There you see Kirby on to Baffo, looking to pick up that elimination. And Kazuna does confirm to have Kid Shockwave and Mythic Charge Shotgun.
13 points now for Kazuna. This is a potential for him to claw off of maybe this one game. If he could just last towards the end. 13 points right now, trying to get over that 20 place. Smudge is still up in this. We saw him in the end game last time, but no, he falls to Teak. And Teak gets up and above the water. Light stuck down below like a little fish. Has no mats remaining. Kazuna's still firing down shockwaves. 2 players low in the box. Teak goes down and Hijo goes out of zone 1v1. And Kazuna versus the player who was stuck like a fish down low. He gets the Elim credit. 200 HP. Has a flopper too if he does need to play the zone, but I don't think he's got to do anything here. I think all he needs to do is stay up above the authority, because that player does not have the teeth of a shark to jump through the walls. And I don't even think those are breakable. Oh, he's back up. Oh, all of a sudden, but the big tags from Kazuna, and yes, even though it's a surprise for Kirby to get up, Kazuna closes it out.
With 5 eliminations, putting himself up to 21 points as well. That should be on pace to qualify as long as he's able to continue it. But that game was crazy. We definitely are going to need to send it back to the analysts so they can break it down. Zeke, Shio, and Sundown, take it away.
Kazuna there with it in the end of his name. GG, over to you, friend. Nice victory royale. Guys, I did not expect that to go the way it did. And there's a lot of things we are going to talk about when we take a look at the standings later, but a very nice game here in this next game.
A nice game, but I would say I feel like we're starting to see Caddy Corner and Kit's loadout playing a larger influence over the course of these games as it goes through. The Shockwave Launcher being in control, giving Kazuna the ability to have that high ground control, particularly over that tough terrain that we saw there at the end. And him able to hit that final shot when he did get ambushed was also a real impressive reaction.
Yeah. And right now we have kind of an insight to how people end up picking fights and playing them, and we'll relate this to endgame in a minute. But this is Benji Fishy and Jamu fighting mid-game. We're talking about position. Benji's kind of on the hunt. We're looking at where this fight exactly is too. So good for Benji to just take it in general. You can see where the zone is actually going to end up, where the mountains are all the way around. It's very secluded. This is very similar to how we see box fights happen endgame. They're very instance-based. There's nothing really in front or behind you that can stop you. You are free to go for the fight. At the same time, Benji Fishy during this fight was around 14 points. Jamu was also very close towards the same, around 8. This is kind of an update as to where the winner from one of these weeks, Benji, is at right now, and why people like Thomas, Slender, X-Squeeze are kind of ahead. They're not taking these mid-game fights. They're actually playing a lot more safer, yet still secluded towards these end games. Still, onto this fight. When we go into this mountainside, Benji has a lot of damage down onto Jamu. He gets a few crash pads into to kind of boost up and close the distance after the beam. Once this happens, the big crucial mistake, though, is Benji's still always on the back foot in positioning. You'll notice in endgame, when you watch X-Squeeze, when you watch Slender or anyone, they're always ahead of the person they're trying to beam down, and they always have advantage limiting the person's options. When Benji has to come in through the box, Jamu has an easy, quick flick, a reaction to take him out. And that's just kind of like a breakdown. We're trying to just get a way to look at how these guys play in endgame and why they have these box-to-box advantages. We can really see it there in mid-game when there's just a fight isolated.
That mid-game is absolutely going to make or break a lot of these players' games, especially as we get ready to head into the last 2 games of the competition. Let's very quickly take a look at the standings and see how things are going here in EU with that last game. Is X-Squeeze possibly going to be higher up in the standings based on his performances? Slender or Thomas HD hold it down, and it looks like it is in fact X-Squeeze holding down that first place spot. 47.16 eliminations. And I gotta say, this guy's playing out of his mind. Game 1, 13th, 5 eliminations. Game 2, placed 9th with 4. Game 3, 7th with 3 eliminations. And in this last game, 10th with 4. So he is Mr. Consistent if we've ever seen it, Sundown.
Yeah, and he's hitting all of those point thresholds, making sure he's inside that top 15, maximizing his points, and also averaging the 4 elims per match. It's the highest so far we've seen in terms of this competition. Slender just on pace behind him. We also have Thomas HD, Refsguard, Stormy Right, Kami, Tux, Teak, Doxy, and Andalix in that top 10. So a who's who of some of the top players who've played so far, plus Doxy making his first appearance, pushing himself up there with the 7 eliminations. So well done, but honestly, with still 2 matches left to play, there's plenty of room to be overtaken, but it really is starting to seem like X-Squeezy is separating himself from the pack, at least in terms of this weekend. It'll be interesting to see if he can carry it over to next weekend.
And it's just like all about his early game, I think. He's just being uncontested, or like, it's uncontested, maybe not at drop, but just mentally and the way he's getting to every single mid and end game. We saw Thomas get stopped that last game. Squeezy was not, and now he's looking really, really good. Wakey, too, is getting into very good mid-game positions. That's why he's all the way up at 11th. Way down to 20th is Milan, who's broken off that 3rd page, is now on the 2nd page, and is looking pretty good at 20th place.
Pretty good, but still going to need more if he wants to push himself into contention. However, having secured qualification yesterday is more than likely just trying to get a little bit of practice in and secure his own space for the finals.
And a quick note here, Kazuna, that player who got the victory out in the last game, finding himself 19 points. He's jumped from the very bottom all the way up into 24th spot. Gentlemen, this is what we talk about. It's never over, and anyone with a single game can make huge ripples in the standings.
And I think Mitro is a prime example of that, the player who is able to sneak in with the 100th qualifier and qualifier number 2. The last player to make it in, but hey, like we talked about, the last player to graduate doctor school is still called doctor, right? Ends up going through there, but Mitro then in the finals was able to make one really solid, good run into the top 5 with a bunch of eliminations, and that was enough to secure him a spot in the finals. And now at this point, he's like, all right, I'm good, stress-free, I can go back to just W-keying everyone because I know at least I'm guaranteed for the next round.
That's right, guys. With 2 games left, we gotta wonder, you know, are these guys at the top, are they gonna hold down that lead? Or some of these players, like Kazuna, who just comes out of nowhere with a 19-point game, look to strike? I mean, this is it. With 2 games left, it is time to put all your cards on the table, and it is time to send it. Now, I'm not saying be reckless. Don't do that. Don't be like me. I am reckless. But boys, I mean, coming into these final games, is it time? Like, do we just send it? Do we just hot drop? Do we just run things back? Like, what do you think, Shy?
It's still playing your game, and like the best example is that of who's in first place, right? It's playing the plan, doing what you need to do. Xqueeze is looking really good in that aspect. It's just that he's undisturbed. That was the word I was looking for before. While he's doing it, right? So Thomas was the one who got kind of agitated in that position. Xqueeze is looking fine. I think Fly Z is also a player in 30th place. We have to look out for making these end games. Sundown, I don't know about you, but I feel like everyone is playing well. They just need to keep on playing and not get affected.
I think they just need to hold on, and it's all about looking to play for a win. You're not going to get it through elims.
Well, guys, let's see how this goes. 2 games left. Balla, TW, Clay. Be our eyes in the sky, gentlemen. Take us into the next game.
Game number 5 is underway, and it is shaping up to be an incredible finish at the top. But you cannot forget about that top 50 qualification spot, because it is just as tight down there as well.
Yeah, and we just saw the player in the last game make it through all the way up there. We'll have to see if that continues. We got 2 more games, Clay, until the end of the season, until we go into postseason and actually the proverbial playoffs, the seasonal finals for FNCS, and EU is so close to getting to that point. A small break through the week, but then we get there on Friday. The heats begin. The real grinds. The real fight for the top spot. Thomas HD is definitely one who's going to be in contention, especially if he continues the success he was having at Caddy Corner? Question mark? Thomas? A bit of an identity crisis? What is going on here? I think I know, but wow, he's so far. He's switched it up completely.
And I love to get what you know, but I think maybe switching it up to where he may choose to drop in the finals, maybe deciding not to go caddy in the finals and go a backup. But just trying out these other drops is always good for these players, because you're not going to get the practice anywhere else.
The thing for Thomas, and all that might be true for sure, but speaking of this moment right here, right now, this is an opportunity to win the tournament for him. He's only, what is it, 8 points away from Xqueeze. And with 2 games to go, he could already start to eat at that gap and make sure that he has something where he will not fight off spawn. And it looks like he found that. Completely no fights. Where opposite to that, another player joined the fray at Caddy Corner, and potentially even another. So he switches it up, says, no, I don't want any of this. Maybe it's his finals drop spot. But more importantly, he's thinking in the now. He's thinking he wants to win this tournament and make it one of his first weekly finals wins. In this case, the daily final wins.
The issue with changing it up mid-tournament, especially if you haven't been playing it, is that you're not going to know where these players are rotating from this tournament. You may know where it works in scrims and how it works there, but in a tournament where you have open qualifiers and anybody can come from that top 3,000 and get in, you don't know how they're going to rotate. And there's a player rotating right now to him. Be on the zip line. He could go down.
He already knows. It's Reason. Oh my goodness. What an important fight for Thomas HD, if it's actually going to go for Reason. Reason not looking at Thomas at all, though. He's sniping off in the distance, but I think he knows, yes, in the inside of this house, the trap awaits, and he will end up being sprung. Thomas HD going to take the first shot, but Reason blocks, and oh, the cone, oh, Reason blocks him in, oh no! Put in the blender, Reason just destroyed the entire plan, the entire focus for Thomas HD, who just sat in the lobby for 30 minutes after falling off spawn at Caddy Corner, switches it up completely. I was going to say had the time to look at the paths, but he did not expect to be put and boxed like a fish from the hands of Reason. Oh my goodness, that was quick.
And that, in contrast, is really good for Reason, seeing him in these early games against players like Thomas HD, able to adapt to someone new being in his rotation and able to come out on top and just looking very, very good. I was concerned, but he's kind of wavering that concern a little bit. On the backhand, Scully, one of those players that's currently outside the bubble for that top 50, but with this elimination, he's starting to inch his way up closer and closer. And Europe right now is being much more aggressive than we've seen.
Yeah, we've been seeing that all day, but now 2 fights back-to-back, quick ones. Somebody who's been hunting Marauders like rabbits. There's stink bombs. No, it's actually just the Marauders. That fight already ended. Season 3. There's nobody else around Scully right now. He's big chilling. But still so much pressure. He's wasting so much and actually taking a lot of damage. Oh my goodness.
Something that did change, however, with the Joyride update is that cars are back on the map and you can farm them. You can't use them, but you can farm them. But you have to be careful, like Quicko did, to box them up. Is Quicko unfortunately going to get boxed in this awkward little area? The shots did come through onto him there. He does get tagged up pretty low there. Peach has set the trap and is activated it here. This Peach with the control of all the walls around him should look to get this elimination, and he does. As Quicko was very, very cautious there with farming up the car. Unfortunately, you put yourself in a very bad situation doing so.
Peach with 13 points. He took out Savage earlier and a couple of other big names. He needs to get himself up higher. 7 points at least to get all the way up there. Kazakh's one of the worst days we've seen for him. But he is still continuing the same plan that he's had time and time again throughout these games, is just looking for fights. You could even see him crouching through. And he does find one in Salty on the other side. I hear a hunting rifle. I'm wondering if that's a sign that this player low in terms of stuff, but no, it's no, Kirby. Kirby, who was second place last game, will go down to Kazakh's. An unfortunate position for him to be in, just like we saw Thomas HD going up against Reason. When you find these great players at these mid-game fights and you're in a position that's just uncomfortable, it's so difficult to actually fight back, and Kazakh's got his eyes on more.
And uncomfortable he was. He didn't have a shotgun. The only opportunity there was that hunting rifle. And unfortunately going to miss it. Kazakh's not missing a beat here, though. He's realized he hasn't played the way he wanted to, and now going very aggressive in this early game, wanting just to push anybody that he sees as the shots come through. Kazakh is going to crash pad in. That player going to crash pad away. He's not able to hit the second bounce, but will be able to continue to put the bullets down as the crash pad going to continue to come through. It's the crash pad fest. Who's got more? Right now, it looks like Kazakh has the wall and the cone going to be taken, and Robbie tries to crash pad out, but he will be eliminated.
Okay, Kazakh's forces 2 people to go down, plus the 1 elimination that he had before we tuned in with him. And back up to max material, still looking good. 68 players now down. We're even lower than it was in game 2. At this stage of the game, second zone has not even been revealed. And to the hands of Kazakhs and other players like Scully, W King a little bit, ending up in these fights. Slender trying his best to be hidden away. He's at Holly Hedges, 45 points for him. Where to go from here? Nowhere. I think this is a good decision. We're not seeing the storm fights that we saw necessarily in game 2 because people are deciding and figuring out their paths and all that as we approach the end of this tournament. And what that does is it allows these spots to become so empty on the edge of zone. One player now rotating down south, trying to find himself a path that is empty like Slender, but they might run into each other. And this is the risk. This is the risk.
And it's Stormy right. The player was in 5th place coming into this game, so this is a monumental fight. First, 2nd and 5th could fight, but Stormy right realizes that this is not a fight that he's willing to take with the way the zone is and disengages.
It's 2 players who are looking for the same thing, an empty path, and they're like, hold on, you're here. You're me. You're doing the exact same thing that I'm trying to do. Let's back away and continue forward. Cammie's got himself a spot on top of the movie screen up at Risky Reels. Squeeze must have been somewhere nearby. That's his drop spot. So, wondering now if he's one of the players that Cammie is firing upon. And we saw in Game 6, Squeeze end up having great positional awareness. This is center, as you can see in the bottom right. That's how the zone is positioned, and we can also see the spread of how people... There's nobody by Lazy Lake. There's nobody by Holly Hedges. Stormy Right and Slender are going to have a free path for a long time as this second zone starts to close. But in terms of the Weeping Woods edge and the north side edge, there's still a lot of players.
And that's good for players like Cammie who have got a line of sight over there and can throw tags that way. But the zone's still very, very big for a lot of these players. Setting up this early is part of their game plan, but it could be negative towards them as players look for those box fights that are on that cusp. As Storm Surge does become a thing into these later zones, setting up this early, you see, I would say over half of the lobby is in between Risky Reels and the Authority, as everybody is set up and waiting for endgame. They decided, you know what, enough is enough. We're not pushing any more players. We're not looking for anybody else to pick them up. We're just looking for this endgame.
Looking for it, they will, but in the Authority, so many people. So many people. The Hulk right here? My man is smashing. What the? I think he... Okay.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I think a new pickaxe being introduced here. But yeah, smashing away at all this extra metal here. Something he desperately needed. Always kept on our toes here with what's being added. Thinking,
Clay, imagine he phases through a box with those hands as his pickaxe. Just like, raw, straight through the wall. Please, Shaken, just go box fight somebody. I really need this image to be played out. A different box fight at Weeping Woods is what I was talking about. A lot of people on the side of here. It's Osin against Dietrix.
we haven't really seen much of Osin today. 14 points. The Ovation Esports crew did very, very well yesterday in representing everyone. They found a lot of early elims, and they played very well for that late game. But Osin right now, 14 points, again, on the cusp, as well. I believe Diablo on the cusp as well. The storm fight is always going to happen in Europe. It seems like there's always one player that always ends up forcing a storm fight because they're down on their luck in terms of loot and in terms of shield, like Diablo is right now. He's looking for this elimination. He really needs to find this, but Osin says, you know what, you were down on your luck, and now you're down back to the lobby.
And one more game for the player to actually try to qualify Diablo, unfortunately. Now looking at Osin, he's at 15 points as well, so maybe he'll get through on this game. There's Dietrix. It wasn't him, it was Diablo who was fighting on that one. I mistook the two OVA players. Wakey with 26. Potentially can push up into the top 10. He's tied for that position right now. He is going to go for the box fight. Up on the top. Ooh, the crash pad in on the backside, and there's no way you can react to that. Flixie down stuck. Already forced to crouch down low, and there's no awareness when you're that low and you have no space already to work with in the fully built metal. Wakey will blast through that with a crash pad. And here we go, the box fight I wanted. Shinkin against Link. But he doesn't even recognize that. He's looking for the path to rotate. Oh, there's a pad down below. Yes, for free. Don't get beamed now. I think he's fine. He dives low and is probably able to land on that brick right on the edge of zone. There, perfect.
And as much as
But
I
he's
think
by
we
himself. By himself? Oh no! Oh no! Lobby focus! He landed in the complete open. I thought if he landed on that brick he would be safe, but nobody there. Cammy from the top! Look at all the angles. He had nothing to block with, and he could not find any space to move at all. So that launch pad, which looked like a gift out of nowhere, ends up being a complete mistake from Shinkin. The spot he chose to land almost would have been worth him going on foot, as he pretty much asked for that lobby focus to come on him.
And that is the thing about competitive Fortnite, is somebody has to end up getting focused, and you see it all the time, and you don't want it to be you as you're launching through the air, but sometimes you put yourself in an awkward spot. You get tagged up one time and the entire lobby says that they're going to focus on you, as JAMIE is going to take down Habs there. Again, JAMIE on that cusp, on pace for that 21 points. Is going to be a number you hear a lot in the next couple of games, because that's what everybody's looking for. They've seen the trend over the past 3 days, and JAMIE knows he's just able to get to that and play his game. He should be cruising to a top 15 qualification.
And he should. A couple of elims can make the difference, and in this game, placement might be slightly easier. We'll have to see. We're getting ever so closer. This is the final day of EU at every region. But we're 2 games until the end of this season, until we move into the grand finals, the seasonal finals next week again. 60 players in this one. Here's Sweeze's position. He was pretty much south of where we saw GBR-JAMIE, who's also fighting for a top spot, but I think based on where he's at, definitely doing okay. A line pretty much in front. The rotation path should be easy. What he's doing right now is he hears this player. He's waiting for him to try to pay too much attention on the other side. And if he can actually wait for that, if that player starts to fire upon anybody else, if he tries to join the lobby focus, xSqueeze will jump in and take the opportunity. And it's for that reason that he's here every game. The positioning, the center zone spot, the center map of his drop spot in Risky Reels. Top 15 in all of the first 4 games. That is one of the best average placements we've seen throughout all of these days. Still could change as circumstances continue throughout into the postseason.
This just shows that he wants revenge for not getting that first place yesterday and losing it to 2s. He wants to say, hey, you know what? That wasn't a fluke. That wasn't just a one-time good RNG, good lucky game that I had and a good lucky day. I want to be able to prove myself coming into these qualifiers and coming into these heats that I'm here. I'm ready. I'm part of the European the player base that's on top and that's consistently here. And that's what he's doing right now with a placement like that. I believe an average of 15th place is very, very insane for him. As now someone again on the cusp, JAMIE looking for that pistol elimination. He's got walls edited here to look for those, as Dangoms is going to take down Froggy in the feed. Storm Surge will be a thing, but if 9 people will go down, won't have to worry about it, as JAMIE is going to be able to find Fika there and not paying attention to that last wall.
Another one. And Slender picks up Mr. Savage. Slender has made it to this point and picked up one of the biggest threats. You have to wonder whether he jumped in. Mr. Savage jumped into Slender's box and he was able to respond. Back to xSqueeze and GBR-JAMIE. They're pretty much stacked up on top of each other. Here's the 5th zone. It's going to reveal half in, half out. Pulls to the edge of this 4th zone, and it's all the way north. Another line that these guys will have to work through. I'm getting worried, though, for xSqueeze to continue the streak of top 15 placements game after game, because a full inventory slot is missing. Thankfully, he has the 5 crash pads and at least some minis to keep him topped off in terms of the shield department.
But there's so many players around, and he's looking for these beams on the player's siding. I'm worried if he's not taking the advantage he has with all these players crash padding around him. He's actually going to go for the pad. And while that may be good, there's already a lot of people set up in the zone. He does take it at the right time, though. However, edited into a box. No! Shots come through, and he's more than likely going to be eliminated here, as he did take a big chunk of damage coming into the box. 48 points, and that's it. He's done. Slicks is taking him out. 48 points is where Sweeze will end in game number 5.
What a catch from Slicks. What an absolute catch. The perfect edit for Sweeze to actually fall into that box. Oh my goodness. And then to hit the shots too. Kazuna will clutch against Kha'Zix with 2 HP, survives. Oh my goodness. What a turn of events. Squeeze now down. And Slender, a big opportunity, but so for actually, I'm looking at the top 5. A lot of them we've seen fall significantly already. So it's maybe Slender, maybe GBR-JAMIE. But also, we're probably going to go into Game 6 with an even closer leaderboard than we've had even yesterday.
Again, 48 points is what we saw Sweez end on. Slender, I believe, was on 47, and he's already picked up an elimination. We'll have to get an update there to see how many points he's on coming into this. But even if they're tied, even if they're at the same amount of points, Slender did pick up the victory royale. The tiebreaker goes over to him, so he would be in first going into the last game. And that's a really big motivator into that last game. If you go into it first, you're automatically on a high. You're there. You're ready. You're saying, hey, I'm in first. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to do my game. I'm going to come out on top. So we'll have to keep our eyes and see where Slender ends up falling.
Seventor with the zone. Look at that action feed, like Clay is saying. Tux picks up Steelix in that direction. Oh, Ocean gets picked off too. There's stink bombs in play. That might actually take out another. Crash pads through the sky. Seventor doesn't find anything. It's so difficult when there's just a million people like popcorn just being thrown along the server. And we'll have to start looking. Andalex down low still.
And in the middle of your screen, you did see Slender. There's about 75 effective HP after popping some minis. He was pretty low on that white HP. On the other hand, Light, not low at all in anything. He's got a lot to work with, a lot of mobility, a lot of mats as well for this stage of the game. As the Frey going down, Edit going to come through. That's going to be on to GBR-JAMIE. I believe a little quick shot there from Light, and this could be what he needs to put himself toward the top.
GBR-JAMIE was so close. He got another elim there too. But I think, yeah, it might be Slender who has the only chance of really overtaking first place right now. But still a lot of people in. Stormy Wright was up 5th place with 35 at the start of this. He's already starting to rack it up. And also Jetsku running out of ammo right here. Not ammo, builds. Pretty much ammunition to keep him alive. Slender down. There's the feed. There's the update that me and Clay were looking for. So bad. 30th place for him. And Slender loses the gap opportunity. Stormy right too. Jetsku, can he find one? A big shot. Yes, the follow up with the burst AR. And he gets another one in Fish too, but only 25 builds. He can last a little bit in zone, but it is running away with him. Even more ticks. That Fish was almost not even worth taking. Some fire as well will keep him out for a second, but he gets all the way up. He gets a lot of space. No more builds though. And there's a player behind him. Boxes him up. Oh, in the floor. He gets it even though he was pretty much lost as to what to do. Jetsku continues. Another one in there. Crash pad still. Full ultimate low. 2 ticks will take him out. He takes 1 only. Now back down low. Can he find a shot? On the side, yes! He gets it, but then gets taken out by Link, who's still bouncing around down low.
What a run there from that player. It was insane to see that. Unfortunately, falling there as they were out of builds, out of HP, really had nothing to really work with there. On the other hand, back on board here with Light, who's in a really good spot, 34 points. If they're able to clutch up some more placement points and some more eliminations, this gives them a chance to contest for that #1 spot. Again, 48 was where we saw Squeeze. I don't know where Slender went down with points as we see Slick go down to Wakey. Wakey ended up getting taken out by Light there. A chain of elimination as Kazuna is going to go down to zone. A 1v1 between Winezip and Light. And I think Light just now realized that he's got height. He's also got chug splashes as well. The side jump coming through. Light, no builds remaining here. Shots come through. The charge goes against his favor. The chug splash comes out. Winezip is able to get the victory royale. We'll see with 6 eliminations. That could clutch qualify him.
That could. That really could, especially if he does anything in the last game. But dang, did he put up a show in a final 1v1 against Lights. That was clinical indeed. And still so much to wonder about. We still have one more game after this. We still have a little bit of some segments, some analysts, to figure out what's going to happen in this final game, because there's a lot of options.
There are many things to be talking about, because in this final game, and when we take a look at the standings, you're going to see how close it is. We've been here before. We have seen this happen time and time again. Real quickly, mad props to Winezip, 6 eliminations and the victory royale. Congratulations to you. Now, with all that being said, Let's take a look at the standings right now. Earlier on in the day, we watched Slender take the Victory Royale with 12 eliminations, and he is tied with Exqueezy at 48 points. The Victory Royale is what's pushing Slender ahead. Now, we saw this yesterday, boys. If Exqueezy wants to try and get today's dub, he cannot make the mistakes he made yesterday, which was being eliminated early off the drop.
Yeah, he needs to avoid that pressure right off of the end there. Slender has made a fantastic job making the back half run. You can see Thomas HD 9 points off of the pace, Stormy right as well. And tough for both of them too, because they had a really solid start, but have slowed down a little bit. But let's flip on over to the next page and see who else might be within striking distance. Don't forget 48 points is the top, but we did just see a 20-point game there out of Wide Zip. We have Wakey, Slicks, Link, Andalex, Milan, Seventor, Kaijui, Dan Gomes, Savid, and Yinks rounding out the top 20 right now. 29 points being the bar to enter onto that page. And some players who have been playing relatively consistent. Milan definitely having a much better weekend this weekend than we saw in the previous one.
Yeah, consistent is the name of the game for a lot of these players. That being said, every single endgame has a different roster of people there in the top 30, and every endgame is also ending faster. So we're not seeing 15 people left over in the 9th zone, and that changes a lot for the people who are in the top 30. Now Urk falls all the way down to 21st, Smudge Doxy rise all the way back up through these rankings, and things are looking so close. Just a 1-point difference between so many placements. Just look at 31st to 40th. 23 points at Jetskew, we just saw do so well in that last game. Now down to Robbie, 40th place, 21 points, a 2-point difference, Zeke.
Man, and there, look at that. YZip finding himself, as Clay said, that run that he needed to find himself in a qualification, putting him up into 34th. Of course, take a look here. Wave ETQ, 50th place, 19 points. 21 has been that threshold as far as we have seen for the last weeks of competition, or 3 days, if you will. So it looks like we are on track with that, with 1 game left, guys. I mean, now it's time. It has to be. I mean, I want to believe in my heart of hearts that people are going to just hold on. They're going to say, look, I have to play for as high placement as possible. If I could literally just pick up 1 elimination along the way, and I could just place at least.
All right, looks like Zeke might not be placing near the top 3 in this desk, but that's all good. Well, I think the point is what he's trying to get. Okay, what he's trying to get to, I think, in my opinion, is basically he's back. All right, almost back. We have a package to see what Zeke is actually talking about. Sundown, break it down for me here. Who are we looking at contending for these top spots?
So this was looking at kind of what happened to the top 3 and what really enabled X-Squeeze and Slender to really make their push towards the top. And the difference here was they went down just later on in the match. Rezone picking up a great elimination there on the Thomas HD. We talked about Refsguard, who's been very consistent in terms of his placements, but the problem is if you're relying on making it into the top 15 and the top 20 every single time, one time being picked up early can be the difference, and that was the eventual game winner picking up there. X-Squeeze also going down in 51st. Keep a note on that and keep an eye, because every single one of those points could matter. It could have made a difference in terms of pushing him 1 point up and above hitting the threshold, while meanwhile Slender is able to get a key pickup onto Mr. Savage there, and you can see him right now. Again, keep an eye on that top left-hand corner. 31 players remaining, and while he's only at 50 HP, he goes down. He misses that top 30 threshold, so both the players dropping 1 player beforehand before getting an additional point, and now we are tied at the very top. They will be going back to back, and who will be able to pick it up? Yesterday we saw Toos and X-Squeeze in the exact same situation, and Kiriachi came over to Risky Rios and just absolutely bullied X-Squeezy off of the start, pushed him out of the match, and knocked him down into 2nd place, while Toos was able to secure the victory. The question is, can X-Squeezy step up today and with a second opportunity to secure a #1 spot in EU? Will he rise to the occasion?
Rise and Race 2. There's basically 2 different racetracks right now. One of them is X-Squeeze. He has his own vehicle. He's looking to just take things by storm and finish first. On the other side, it's a 1-point difference on the other track to get into top 50. There's players like YZ trying to get in. All these cars, though, are running on the same fuel, and that is stamina. I've got a lot of it. Sundown does too. Zeke might be running out kind of, but it's all good. Still, a lot of these players are falling through the cracks, and that's a problem for them, right? We saw what happened to X-Squeeze yesterday. I hope it doesn't happen again. Wiseup is rising fast. Is he going to hold, though? It is so close all the way around, and I think Game 6 is going to be one of the most different games we've seen in terms of stakes from first place down to 100th.
And again, don't forget any of those players in the top 10. We just saw a 20-point performance coming out of Wiseup. A victory royale is worth 14. Each elimination is worth 1. Generally, we've seen about a 4 to 5 eliminations going through with the victory royale on average. So you can paint it in for just south of 20 points most of the time. Anybody could realistically make a push, because lately we've been seeing when these players at the top are pushed to the very brink and it's close in Game 6, a lot of them haven't been rising to the occasion. With the exception of Benji and Noah Riley going back-to-back in the very qualifier number 2, there hasn't been instances where the top players have really grabbed the reins in the final moments and pushed themselves over the top. But this is it. We're going in the final game of EU, match number 6. We could not be more excited. Let's see what goes down and who takes it away in the battle between Slender and X-Squeezy.
To make it to Game 6, let alone to the final stage of any of these qualifiers, has been a grind, and Shayu is right, requires stamina. And we'll see who ends up having the most stamina out of all this. This has been a unique season of FNCS, 2 weekends for 4 qualifiers, and 7 hours of Fortnite on every one of those days. Stamina is an understatement for everybody, but this is it. This is the end, Clay, of that 100% wonderful season that we've seen so far. Game 6, and we've got a really, really good battle, starting off with Slender at the top.
You wouldn't want it any other way. The battle for top, neck and neck, tied with points. You want to see it go down to the absolute last moment of the game. The question is, can Slender stay alive off spawn, which with where he's dropping, he most definitely can. And can X-Squeeze adapt his gameplay to stay alive off spawn, which he has, right? He's made it to top 15 every game but the last, where he just narrowly missed out on 50th points by getting 51st.
And I really like, we're getting our first view of Slender in the early game. The fishing route that he has on the side of the map in comparison to the central location for X-Squeeze at Risky Reels. And here he is again, uncontested. And off spawn, he'll be able to farm up a lot of metal, a lot of loot, but we already saw the first zone with that first map shot. It's going down south, so X-Squeeze will not have that very, very nice advantage of that central map location, whereas Slender on the other side is coastal and already starting to move down south.
And while we have had zones go to the south, they've been to the southeast, not the southwest. So this rotation is going to be completely different from what X-Squeeze has had to do. Now, he's done it time and time again in scrims and qualifiers in the past, but this today could just be the wrench that gets thrown into his plan. However, I doubt that he's going to let the zone affect him that much, especially with how consistent he's played.
Over to Caddy Corner, a different locale, a different spot for Link against Dietrich. Nobody has the Kit Shockwave launcher here that I can tell, though Dietrich could have it on the back foot. I don't see anybody still in Caddy Corner, so, oh, what a drop down shot. Dietrich just misses the side wall, and that's the side that Link will choose. No Kit Shockwave launcher, but there's still one player in the vicinity. And with the fact how early this is, you have to wonder if he's trying to hide and wait so that he can go for that vault when the time comes. Even one more coming over the top. Oh, they're fighting for this. They're fighting for this hard. Link with 35 points. He's not that far away.
That player is trying to get in aggressively with the harpoon. They're going to get in the box. It's going to be Kimson. There's another player down below as well. This is a three-way fight that could happen. The player down below is just sitting and waiting for their time to strike, but Link has to try to find some sort of engagement that he is favorable to take, because right now he's on the back foot. The aggression is coming out from his competitor, but sometimes that is good for you in the box. You can make the play. You can wait for them to make the mistake, and that's exactly what Link is doing right now, regaining all of this mats, regaining all of these areas so he can go back and forth between box to box, and that harpoon he knows only has 10 charges, and it's already been used 3 or 4 times, so he doesn't have to worry about that pressure much longer.
I like the fact that that top side ended up getting taken by Kim's, but he pushes the stairs reverse to cover his top. Well done. He'll survive Link a little bit longer. Still getting updates on all the top players. Stormy Right is on the same side as where we saw Slender earlier on in this, maybe a little farther north. But there's potential for these two to engage. Remember, we saw them have a brief standoff at Holly Hedges in the last game. I'm curious, too, with all the action that we saw at Caddy Corner, where is Thomas HD? Is he doing the same type of Holly Hedges play? And will he end up fighting Reason? Or potentially even Stormy Right or Slender, if the game continues as we saw last time?
And this battle is just going to get more and more tense as we get further in, and these players are not falling. It is now Stormy Right in a spot where he needs to make a play. Reason is very far from Holly yet again.
This looks to be revenge for Reason, as he got stolen that that day 2, where he was in the lead and got sniped on the backside. Of this time, he's being the spoiler against the players in the front. He's being the player who will take out 2 back-to-back. And again, this time, last time it was Reason against Thomas HD. This time, it's against Stormy Right, and it's a full-on box fight / build fight. Stormy Right maintains height, Reason goes up still, and Stormy Right's going to be the one on the aggressive. He ended up getting cracked a little bit early in the fight, but seems to have evened things up, and Reason now has to spend the chug splashes. I love that. Going forward after the clip of the AR for sure is going to be outlasted, and even trying to phase through that floor. If Stormy Right wanted to go for that replace but backs away, that's the opportunity, and now he'll go up again. Misses that though, and unfortunately he'll have to stay down below, but a big box to work from.
Going for a crash pad play to try to take high ground here. You saw it was thrown out there for a little bit, but the shots come through. It was the wrong play. That's down to 51 HP. Now, gang, that's how the chug splashes there, and the crash pads as well. The big shields are in the inventory as well. We'll see. He buys enough time, but the shots coming through, and Reason looked to play spoiler, but he ended up getting spoiled by Stormy Right.
Stormy Right continues. 40 points now. One of the players in contention has the opportunity to overtake Slender and X-Squeeze, and he'll take out Reason, who tried his best. Last game he took out Thomas HD, but that only evened the score for these guys that are dueling now, Thomas HD and Stormy Right. They still have a long way to go. They were 10 points before this game started behind the top 2, who are tied, Slender and X-Squeeze. 10 points is a lot. That's a good game, especially given the fact that those other 2 will also have a chance to respond.
And as we swap over to Thomas HC, this is the first time in all of the games today we have seen him with the sniper rifle. He doesn't have any spray weapon. He doesn't have anything to follow up with. But this is different. He doesn't have caddy loot as well yet again. He is off spawn in a sniper, and he's looking to line it up and almost hits a beautiful shot there.
Well, you hit it. Just not the headshot that we almost come to expect from Thomas HD whenever he fires one of these shots off. That player hopped in the river, and unfortunately it was not a fish he came out with. It was loss of HP. Scooting over to the other side of the map, Misty Meadows. This should be pretty central in the zone for Milan. Yes, it is. So that gives an idea of where Slender, where Stormy Right, and where Squeeze need to go. Thankfully, it's pushing further northwest for all of those players to have a slight advantage in the second zone, but still they need to move because far away from their original spots.
As moving in, Milan does take some damage. I am concerned about where he's rotating and why he didn't try to use a crash pad off the top of that dam there. And he's rotating with that AR out. Is as you see him swap, was not the best decision, as he knows there's players hiding in here. He's got to be careful, and I think he heard him out there, and the ambush will not be set here for Milan, but Milan wants to set the ambush on this player, and they have no shield. The white tag coming through, the crash pad in. There's the shot, and Milan takes down Kanjit.
Milan now pushing himself up in the top 10. That was a wonderful spot. He pulled out the shotgun expecting somebody to be around the corner, but he was actually farther away. Milan instantly says, hold on, let me actually check this. Especially as you come around the corner, you don't know exactly my position. Even though we have the third person look, he will not see whether Milan comes over, and instantly that's a tag with the burst AR that he had and saw that he was low HP, and he will instantly pounce on that. Well done. And again, fighting for one of these top spots, fighting for that increased prizing up in the top 10, and Milan doing it day after day now.
Pete doing it day after day as well. Someone who's made it, I believe, in almost every single one of these. And today, we haven't really seen much of him. We haven't really seen a lot of pop-off plays. But in his fourth and third game, he had back-to-back fourth places with 3 and 4 eliminations, respectively. Fatigue consistently doing well in these qualifiers. This is very, very good going into this last game and going into heats. He is showing that consistency is definitely key.
And you can see players definitely playing more calm than we saw in games 2 and games 4, where we saw the lobby dwindle so fast, so rapidly. I expected it to be slightly different, but no, it is intense no matter what. And there's Thomas HD doing what he does best. Another shot, it's another connection onto Dave. And there's some loots. Not too many upgrades, actually no upgrades, and he didn't even get any extra heavy bullets, unfortunately for him, even though there was a sniper in the kits. Maybe it fell off the hill. Looking at Benji, he hasn't had to move at all in Slippery Swamps. Not the greatest day for Benji, but of course we're still waiting and still hoping to see a very good performance for him in the seasonal finals. He's got kits launcher. This could be a big one for sure. I mean, you don't go into any of these set games with Benji Fishy in them and not expect him to get a game that will be on par with what Benji Fishy is known to do. Yesterday, even though he didn't play as well as day number 2, he still had a pop-off game 3 and game 4 to bring himself back up to this. So this time it might have to be game 6, but you know it's coming, especially now that we see that he has kits loot in his inventory.
Which is so surprising that he was able just to walk in and grab it. Seems like with the shots here, what is this player using a boat to rotate? Benji is going to take down Kims, and I'm not sure what happened there, but a nice elimination from Benji Fishy.
He's trying to get ready for Shark Week, I guess, trying to act like a shark himself, but no, the boats don't work like that. It's not a quad crasher. Benji just puts him right down. Hey, man, joyride might not be in comp, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do and try to have your own little fun.
And Save It having to play very well today to qualify, and he did, and he played really well there to get elimination onto Steelix using the crash pad very effectively. I think that was his last crash pad, too, to get into the box and pick that Elam up.
Yeah, it was an awkward moment there where he threw the first pad and it didn't do what he needed to do. It didn't break through the bills, but the second one will follow up and do just that and launch him with momentum into Steelix's box. Save It has done what he needed to do this day. On this day, he's qualified. 30 points is definitely way up there in terms of range. He'll be fine. And we'll see him in the seasonal finals. Hopefully, we'll see him through the grand finals as well. Always a different story as well. Shinken just went down to fall damage or storm or surge. In any case, he's down and out. That action feed can be descriptive. I'm going to guess Surge for sure. The last player in that one. As we're down to 70, and you can see it's quieted down significantly.
Game number 6 might be the most stacked you've seen all day today. And it certainly paints the picture of how the leaderboard is shaped as well. It is so close. Every move you make, if you make the wrong decision, if you pass the wrong way, you are out. And again, top 50 is what you're looking for here.
And just to note, we haven't seen anybody in the top 10 fall just yet. So that means it's still all up for grabs. Might be like a similar situation to what we saw in NA East yesterday in the final game, how many people were in contention to take this last game and to make it count for you. And don't forget, this is the last day. NA East, there still is one more, so if you didn't make it and didn't put your statement on everything, there was still another chance. Here in EU, this is it. Cammy will connect onto AR Bafo from range 2. Multiple shots And there was definitely some confusion on that side of that box fight. It was Cora who was fighting against there. Cammy will capitalize.
And slowly inching his way higher and higher. It's a battle for first. It is also a battle for the placements down below. This is coming down to the last moments of this last game as we move over to Tux, who, again, we haven't really seen much performance-wise from him. Hasn't really had that pop off of the game. In fact, I think he's placed 24 two times, but his consistency and consistently getting to that top is rewarding him with a lot of points.
That it is. Man, it feels like everybody we switch to is at the same point threshold, and we're looking at the leaderboard that's in the top 10 or tied for it. I mean, 37 points will certainly be tied maybe 5 ways, I think. Now on to Link, we saw him have the fight earlier at Caddy Corner. Definitely looking a bit more shambles, and when we say that, we mean he has no heals and running out of materials, which you need to outlast how many players are in this endgame. Link will try his best to get towards the building, get towards the Slurpy Swamp Factory, but he won't be able to. Just wood remaining, and that will be easily eaten through by Osen.
And another player that needed the point. He needed to secure that top 50. Because right now it's sitting around 19 points, I believe, was going into this game. So he is safe, but he's not feeling too comfortable. So that little bit of aggression coming out, he'll probably stave it off and probably play a lot more for those upper placements. But he needed that. He needed to get back in with the mat count, with the loot count that he needed. And now he can play the end game the way he wanted to. So, going out at 36 points is not how we want to just see Link go out. But unfortunately, sometimes, you got to make plays when you have that cusp of the bubble pressure coming through.
Both sides, north and south, so congested in this. Mr. Savage, 3 eliminations, doing what he did on day number 2. After qualifying and playing so well on day number 1, he crash pads into another box. That's Kazuna, goes down and out. 4 now for Mr. Savage, and already he's looking for his next target. Don't forget, that might be metal, but you can still crash pad in no matter what material he is. And yes, Kaspersa down. 5 now for Savage, but another one ending up joining in. Savage will heal up. And yes, he's good. A stink bomb, though, does connect. He needs to get out. It's still connecting. Still connecting. Savage, there you go. Found the space. Oh, down below him. It's Stormy Right. It's Stormy Right. And if Mr. Savage continues the style that he's been showing off with the 5 eliminations that he's gotten, he might be next on Mr. Savage's hit list of boxes to dive in with a crash pad.
And that is not what you want to see nearby you. Is Mr. Savage on a rampage, be it not playing the best of his abilities today, but maybe saving a little bit for finals, and he doesn't want to give away all of the tricks in the book. But Squeeze right here looking for an elim, and he's going to find Extracted, and that's going to put him in first by far, unless we haven't seen Slender pick up an elimination. Squeeze does take the lead right here.
That he does, but just barely. Where is Slender? Keep an eye on their scores when they end. Stormy Red at 41, for example, because that could be a number that we have to pay attention to. 49 was where Xweez was at, so keep that in mind. Bit zone up in the northwest. No, sorry, northeast. A lot of players already crash padding through. How does Stormy Right get there? And is Mr. Savage nearby to cause him some trouble? 56 builds for him. He'll need an impact going into this. He will need an impact almost certainly, and he does get to zone, but at the cost of a little HP and pretty much all of his really, really good heals. 5 minis still remaining. He also has a sniper, which sometimes can really find you something easily in this endgame.
And Savage easily finding another elimination onto Kha'Zix. Now I think sitting on 3 or 4 there for Savage, who says, you know what, it's the last game, might as well pop off and might as well just go aggressive and get as many elims as I can. As Stormy Right is looking for that shot, looking for anybody playing a little bit too comfortably nearby. He doesn't have the crash pads to get into these players' boxes, but he's looking for these elims because he knows he needed. Paula mentioned 56 builds, now down to 34. This is not in-game material levels that you want to see on a player, especially one competing for that top spot.
Final game. final end game, you know it's going to be stacked. You know everybody's going to be trying to get as best as possible those very, very top-heavy placement points. Again, 14 points available for winning a game entirely, but with the thresholds the way they work, everybody accrues points at the same rate, so it's just a matter of differentiating yourself in the lobby. There's Cammy making his rotate. I think he's going towards the front of zone. Yes, that's the front of 6 zone, getting as close as there as possible. Nate picking up an elim too. He's in this. Wondering now. Xweez, we saw him pick up 1 on the side of zone, but he was not where we were. Looking for Thomas HD as well. We just saw Stormy, right? So 2 big names, Xweez and Slender. I would love to see right now as Cammy turtles forward into zone, almost gets chunked down from the side of the wall. He'll opt to go to a different layer, stay away from as many players as he can.
With that crash pad coming through, he's going to find a very good rotation onto a layer. Nobody is on all by himself. Slender's still alive in this game. He's got to go tooth and nail for Sweez right now. We know he's down at least below 1 point below Sweez. He's got to find an elimination.
Oh, no.
Cammy's going to find one here. Shots come through. He does end up picking up that elimination as that player decided to land in his box. Cammy says, you know what? You land here, you're going to get eliminated.
The perfect kit for Cammy to actually work in situations like that, box to box, when he catches somebody, he'll make it work. Now 2 eliminations. There's Thomas HD on the backside. He's so low, he's probably going to go down. Cammy was right next to him. Same with Robabs. And then up on height, it's ETK, who's working on qualifying. Here's Sweez. Thomas HD out. That was one of the contenders. Now Sweez, 52 points. Trying to find some space to actually work out of this box. Still has heals. There's a crash pad. Doesn't get him too far. Another one will be thrown. No beams up the sky. He lands in a really good position. So far ahead of everybody. He's going to get into the box to look out for some elims.
And speaking of elims, the Savage is going off right now. He's getting elimination after elimination after elimination. And who needs to get that is a Sweez, though. He needs to find these elims. Because right now, placement is neck and neck, and there's another elimination that's going to put him another couple of points up above. Slender's still in this game. We have yet to see him fall. Sweez with the crash pad is getting out and getting ahead of zone. He's got to be careful, though. He's starting to dwindle down the match. 50 builds right now as we see Cammy on your screen there. Sweez picked up another elimination. He's looking to take the lead here and run with it.
Yeah, he might, especially given we just saw Slender way out of zone, floppering, and there he is. He comes up on height. He's going to be challenging against so many big players, Cammy, Slicks, and Frey. Meanwhile, Xweez down below. He's actually working this low ground. Oh my goodness, Slender down, up on height. And now Xweez has a really big opportunity. He just needs to hang on in case anybody else has anything to say.
And if anybody's going to say something, it's going to be Saban, it's going to be Savage, it's going to be Snappy. It could be Cammy, because Cammy is behind. He's down by what looks like 12 points there as he's going for high ground there. But the fact that Sweez is still in this game means he's taking all these points and making them that much harder to overcome from all these players. He's just constantly getting to these end games. This is something we've seen another top 15 finish here from Sweez as he's dropping on down, trying to make the best of the bad situation, running out of match. Player on the other side of the wall. He's looking for the charge shot into the end, and he is not going to find it. It's going to be stolen away. Sweez is going to find another one. That's going to be another elimination. Number 4 for him as he is going to fall. Unfortunately there, Cammy not going to get the elimination as well. I believe 56, 50, 60 points is where we're looking for that placement, but Cammy, I think, is just too far away to be able to do it. Savage still in this game, though. He's been running, and Cammy finds that elimination there onto Frey. Savage finds another elimination there onto Wiseman. Cammy with 49 points. He needs 11 points to do it. I don't know if it's possible at this point, but he's just looking to try to get into second at this point. Maybe third is Shockwave going to be used. Kura going to go flying there as Milan going to take him down. Peach is going to fall there to zone. Milan going to go get taken down there by High Chris. No, Milan's still in the game, and Savage still in the game as well.
Cammy 1v1v1 up on height, getting Savage and then Milan down on low ground. Savage is going to drop in the box, take a couple of tags, but neither really trade there. Finally, Milan, a little bit of HP. Cammy trying to outlast. Now, final 1v1. This is it for Cammy right here against Savage. What? Mr. Savage with 12 eliminations. Where did this come from? All of a sudden, he's way up, and he's just put himself at least in the top 10 now. The trades are in. Oh, it's so difficult. Shockwave will actually send him flying, and Savage will hit a shot. Where did that come from? All of a sudden, he's down and out. Savage with 13 eliminations, 35 points for him, and he definitely stopped Cammy from overtaking anybody out that top spot. But what a game from Savage.
A record number of eliminations coming out there for him. He said, you know what, I've been quiet all day, but now I'm coming out and I'm just rolling through the entire lobby. 13 elims is nothing to look at and be like, oh, it's only 13. It's not 20. He didn't hit the elim cut. That's 13. The closest we've seen is 9. 4 more eliminations, and he picked up the victory royale, which is absolutely insane. But the question is, who is in first right now?
That is a big question, but I still want to go back a little bit for Mr. Savage. That was completely. We've been talking a lot about this weekend, is how when you get mid-game eliminations, when you start getting rolling, you don't end up in the placements. Mr. Savage did it again. Same thing that he did at DreamHack Anaheim. Same thing that he's done time and time again in these tournaments, in which that is a big statement ahead of seasonal finals. Somebody who we're for sure looking at taking this. But you're right. Big question. Who's in the lead? Is it Squeeze, who we saw push way up there in the final moment? Slender tried to fight for height, but was not able to find anything, and that might have cost him because Squeeze continued to outlast Clay.
And we saw Cammy go down there past a Squeeze, but it wasn't enough. Was Savage taking that victory from him just enough to clutch up that moment? We'll have to see. I think the analysts are going to break it down here from us, but that's been it for me in Ball TW. I hope you guys have enjoyed the games just as much as we have, because they have been insane.
That they have, Clay. Unbelievable games. Close again. And for a final day, don't forget, this was it for EU. We got NA East up next, which isn't starting in about 2 hours. They're still playing out their semifinals games. That was it for EU. And over the last 2 weekends, we've really gotten a sense of what to expect come seasonal finals. A lot of things can still change, and we've gotten previews. We saw Benji win. We saw Reason win. We saw yesterday the crazy performances out of that. But yeah, Clay, you're right. That's it from us, me, Ball TW, and Clay Staling. Analysts are going to be able to reveal who won this actual final day.
Thank you guys so much. What is just a fantastic day of Fortnite here in the EU region. It has come down to this. We knew going into this game, X-Squeeze versus Slender, who would hold it down? Which one of them would push above and beyond? Could X-Squeeze finally find that first place? Yesterday, he was holding out and at the very end was edged by a single point. But did he do it today? The question on everyone's mind. Let's go ahead and together take a look at the final standings and reveal our winner from today. The final chance to qualify here out of EU. On the day, it is X-Squeeze who did, in fact, hold on all the way out through the end, placing in his final game top 10 with 4 eliminations, a 60-point total. And out of his 6 games played today, Sundown, only a single game out of top 15.
Really good job from him there. Was only missing a victory royale to really seal it off, but his consistency was what really brought him to the top. Though I will note, Cammy had an opportunity at the end to steal it away when there was still 5 players remaining. If he had able to get all 4 of those elims plus the victory royale, actually just 1 more before that when there were 6 remaining, he could have possibly had the overtaking. He also had the tiebreaker there, but unfortunately was unable to seize that opportunity. Rounding it out, we have Milan in 4th, Stormy Wright in 5th, Thomas H&D in 6th, Light in 7th, Teak in 8th, Refsguard in 9th, and then Become Legends Slicks in 10th there. So really good performance from everyone out of EU. All of these players will not only get a little bit larger of the prize money there, but they'll get a shot in the heats and an opportunity to compete for the grand finals as we flip on over to the next page.
Savid, I think, for me, is one of the best players out of today, although not in the top 10. He held 11th to 12th and never really faltered between anyone trying to move all the way up. Wizip, Kazuna, both of them getting victory royales here, could not break this man all the way towards the top of this page. Shout out though to Wakey, Tux, Yanks, Link, Andalex, and Hi Chris. Link also, Kaiju also, all playing so well from 11th down to 20th. The next page over, Mr. Savage's insane 13 elimination win nets him 21st place.
And that's the first time we've seen someone break into the double digits. Mr. Savage, you knew what my heart wanted, and you delivered on that promise. Massive props to you, being the first player to do that. I mean, out of 4 weeks of competition, him being the first to do that, very impressive and speaks volumes of him as a player.
And we've just seen how he's grown in terms of being able to play aggressively. We've always known he can capitalize and close out in the end game, but his ability to push players and some of the best in Europe consistently and turn them into eliminations, I think that's going to end up paying off in the long run when we get to these big final lobbies, and he opts to play a little bit more passive. We can see here that final page there, the final line. We have Janice, Racist, ADN, Venci, Kirby, Jaja, I think. I have no clue what's going on there. Nefsri, JK Ramnik, Ova, Osin, Non, Wave, ETQ, Handy, I Will Not Lose, Flies on YouTube, and F.A. Kura being our top 50. So congratulations to all of those guys. You'll get an opportunity to compete in the heats and a chance at the grand finals if you're able to make the top 25 next weekend.
Man, it is, I mean, I'm just over the moon. The last 2 weeks have been incredible. And again, you know, we got to talk about our number one, Exqueezy. I'm so impressed by his gameplay. Coming out of yesterday's performance, you know, heading into the last game, he made a mistake and was eliminated early. And then today he says, you know what, yesterday I missed my chance at first place. Today I'm going to come back and get it.
He did a really good job in terms of playing aggressively and converting on these early elims. It's something we've seen a little bit more in Europe in terms of trying to set up these quick little ambushes. And what he does better than a lot of other players is once he gets into an engagement, he resolves it very quickly. Even if he is taking some trade damage back, he doesn't end up getting bogged down in these fights, which allows for his aggressive playstyle to pay off when he's winning the fights, which we've seen over the past 2 days. He did relatively consistently. You can see him there giving a little bit back to Kiriachi off spawn, but now Exqueezy dropping down on the side here, and it's something that really speaks volumes to his ability, because playing aggressive consistently here, this was another ambush he set up yesterday on Nikenzo, and these are some clips from both days. Don't forget, it's not just what we saw today, but the level of aggressiveness and consistently going through and making impact eliminations happen, particularly right around placement thresholds, I think speaks volumes to his ability to go far in the finals, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see the MCES player emerge as one of the front runners.
Yeah, and this is all because of his tactical, patient approach to every single fight. He's basically taking away any unknowns, other than obviously when you're crash padding, you don't know where what's at the very end, but he even crash pads early when it's endgame time so he can get his box down and then really focus on these beams, get people eliminated, and then just make more room for himself to still figure out what to do next. Even on zone lines, he's just so good at setting up one-off engagements and quickly snapping to another player next to him. It nets him points. He might not be winning games overall, but the sun is always shining on him no matter where he is in any game instance.
An absolutely beautiful analogy there. Thank you, Shio, for that. And for all of you guys at home, thank you so much for hanging out with us all day, watching these incredible Fortnite games for the last 3 weeks of competition. But don't forget, we still have one region left, and that is NA East, which we will be coming back for later on today. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate every single one of you. Don't forget, Shark Week is coming tomorrow, Monday, August 10th, and we'll see you guys in just a few hours for more out of NA East. Till then, Fortnite fam, we'll see you guys on the Battle Bus.